Chapter 339. The discussion on the dark web was still going on, but Jiang Tian was very relaxed and carefree during this time. Every day, he teased Jiang Wan and watched her pouting pitifully. Then, he and Qing'er took a cruise ship to the high seas to fish, surf, and sunbathe. They traveled all over Southeast Asia hand in hand. His life was so good that he was like a living immortal. Every time he visited a country or city, there were local government officials and rich people who wanted to see him. They wanted to curry favor with the newly promoted Grand Preceptor of Singapore. Jiang Tian also depended on his mood. He would meet some and ignore some. During this period of time, under the mediation of Paris Hilton, Liu Zhou, and the others, the Hilton family of America joined forces with the DuPont Foundation, the Rockefeller family, the Rothschild family, the Morgan family, and many other super families, as well as many Wall Street funds and investment companies to acquire 90% of the Guo family's assets. The Guo family's assets totaled more than 200 billion XIN new dollars, which was equivalent to 1 trillion Huaxia dollars. There was still some left over. Even the Hilton family, which was one of the top 10 richest families in America, found it difficult to swallow it all. After all, most of these large corporations existed in the form of fixed assets. No one had that much cash in their accounts. This was a cross-border merger that shocked the world. It was also the largest mega merger in the new century. The world was in an uproar. Financial observers around the world were shocked. Industry researchers around the world were shocked. For a week, the Wall Street Journal, Financial Times, The Times, and many other media outlets reported and analyzed. The news was always on the front page. Jiang Tian only kept the Guo family's mansion and 10% of the Guo family's assets. As for Guo Lily, Jiang Tian did not give her a single cent of the shares. He only allowed her to keep her position as a vice president and let her help maintain the relationship with the management team and stabilize the situation. Jiang Tian was already benevolent enough not to kill her. 1 trillion. What kind of concept was that? Wealth comparable to a country. Even if it was a few years later, even after 2018, Jiang Tian would still be the richest man in Huaxia. After the new century, there were some red dignitaries who used insurance holding companies as a platform and leveraged their holdings. Indeed, Anbang, Gushi, Pangu, and several other mega corporations with a scale of more than 1 trillion. However, these companies were all highly indebted. Although the method of debt was different, and the complicated equity structure was like a super maze, it was still using other people's money. However, Jiang Tian's assets were all solid gold and silver, his net worth. Not to mention their net worth, even if they were to include their debts, it would be difficult for these powerful people with red backgrounds to catch up to Jiang Tian. 1 trillion is so easy to get. It feels so good to rob money. Jiang Tian converted all the money into dollars and deposited it in a Swiss bank account. Jiang Tian was a simple and hardworking person. To him, money was just a worldly possession. He had no use for it in the short term. Although Jiang Tian had a good relationship with Huaxia officials, who knew when they would fall out. Lantern Festival, Hilton Hotel. Why did Jiang Tian ask us to come here? He won't kill us, right? Yang Wenluan and Li Xinyue, who had been contacted by the Singapore police, stood outside a private room in the F&B department, trembling uneasily. For the past few days, whenever they thought of how Jiang Tian had slaughtered everyone in the Guo family, the two of them would have cramps in their stomachs and could not eat or sleep in peace. Yang Wenluan had not dared to leave. He had also tried to contact Jiang Tian, but Jiang Tian's door was heavily guarded. They could not enter at all. However, they did not expect Jiang Tian to take the initiative to look for them today. The door opened, and a girl with a particularly ethereal appearance said softly, "Come in, both of you." The two of them hurried in and saw Jiang Tian sitting facing the door, eating. Beside him were a few men and women with extraordinary auras. Guo Lily was sitting at the end of the table. Jiang Tian looked up at the two of them and smiled amiably. "Have you eaten? If not, let's eat together." Yang Wenluan wanted to kneel on the spot, but he did not dare to sit down. He stood there trembling and said in a trembling voice, "Jiang Tian, I know I was wrong. Please spare my life, don't kill me. It's fine. The reason I called you here is to tell you something. Don't talk nonsense about me in your circle of classmates." Jiang Tian said calmly. "No problem, I won't say a word." "Yeah, we won't say a word even if you beat us to death." Yang Wenluan and Li Xinyue immediately swore. "Then you guys can go." Jiang Tian waved his hand. Yang Wenluan and Li Xinyue were not evil people, so there was no need to do anything to them. There was a reason why Yang Wenluan had repeatedly mocked him and even tried to harm him. After all, he had been quite a jerk at that time. He had slept with the goddess and even sent a video to her. Although Li Xinyue had tried to cooperate with the Guo family to harm him, she regretted it at the last moment. She reminded Jiang Tian and even wanted to plead for Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian understood that it was not easy for a woman to make a living in a big city. Why would he be calculative with a woman? Oh right, just as the two of them were about to leave, Guo Lily turned around and smiled sweetly. "Little Yang, your family's contract is still valid. Good luck, you're working for Master Kong." "Thank you Jiang, Master Kong. I will never forget your kindness." Yang Wenluan was respectful, fearful, and touched. Hot tears rolled down his cheeks. After the two of them said goodbye, they walked silently in the corridor with a myriad of thoughts in their minds. Suddenly, Li Xinyue said in a trembling voice, "Young Master Yang, we missed a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If I'm not wrong, the person beside Jiang Tian is the Prime Minister of Singapore, Li Xianlong?" "I understand," Yang Wenluan smiled bitterly. "But you have to know that he's the dragon god. No matter how hard we work, we won't be able to get close to him." He asked Guo Lily to continue with the contract probably because he felt bad about cheating on me back then. "I'm really grateful that Master Kong cheated on you back then. Otherwise, we wouldn't be alive right now." Li Xinyue nodded in agreement. "This is how the dragon taming formation should be set up. Do you understand now?" Half a month later, in the dragon taming mountain mansion, Jiang Tian pointed at the blueprint and asked Qing'e with a smile. Even though Jiang Tian was famous in Southeast Asia, he still had too many enemies, such as the Great Circle, the Sakura Society, and the Yamaguchi Gumi. Jiang Tian planned to cultivate the Golden Gung divine body in Swirling Island as soon as possible. Then, he would destroy the Great Circle and the Sakura Society. On one hand, he was eager to return to Swirling Island to cultivate. On the other hand, he wanted Qing'e to master the art of formations. Formations were too important to a cultivator. It could be used for both defense and offense, greatly increasing a cultivator's strength. Especially on Earth where spiritual qi was scarce, it was necessary to be able to set up a spirit-gathering formation all the time. However, Qing'e was indeed smart. She could understand the mysteries of formations with just a hint. She could even come up with new ways to improve and innovate. One should know that Southern sect Feng Shui Xian masters like enlightened Master Hong Yi and Su Wenjie were often confused by these complicated formations. They felt dizzy and could not take it anymore. Understood. Qing'e nodded and turned to look at Xin Mange, enlightened Master Hong Yi, Su Wenjie, and the rest. She smiled and said, "Everyone, please follow me to set up the formation." "Yes." Everyone bowed and followed Qing'e out of the mansion. They went to various parts of the dragon taming mountain and got busy. It's not cold when the wind blows. Jiang Tian walked out of the door with his hands behind his back. He stretched lazily and revealed a calm smile. The spring sun was bright and beautiful, and the breeze was gentle. The snow melted, and the mountains and rivers were clear. The willow trees sprouted, and tender green sprouts appeared on the branches. The flat fields of herbs swayed with the wind. It was as if a layer of green carpet had been draped over the mountains. The fragrance of the herbs was refreshing and soothing. This windcheam grass is growing pretty fast. Jiang Tian came to a nursery in the mountains and nodded in satisfaction. He picked up a bottle of spiritual liquid and watered it. The winchim grass had been planted for half a month. It had already grown to 5 to 6 centimeters tall. The bell-shaped leaves swayed gently in the air, emitting a faint fragrance. The dragon-taming mountain was not only set up with a formation, but it was also an important production base for the Medicine King group. The formation gathered the spiritual chi of heaven and earth to help the herbs absorb and grow. At the same time, the herbs would also emit medicinal spiritual chi, which would be absorbed and used by the formation again. Professor Jiang, what kind of herb is this? I've never seen it before. Suddenly, a timid voice came from behind him. Hearing this voice, Jiang Tian's body stiffened. He slowly got up and turned around. Huang Linger had her hair tied up in a bun. Her white coat wrapped around her slender and graceful body. She was like a graceful magnolia in the spring breeze. Her big, watery eyes were staring at him eagerly. After not seeing her for a few months, her skin looked even clearer. Her eyes were as clear as water, without a speck of dust. Oh, this is called winchim grass. It's the most important herb in this courtyard, Jiang Tian answered vaguely. Then, he asked in surprise, who told you to come here, Yiziwei? Huang Linger lowered her eyes timidly and looked at her feet. She said softly, no, it was Sister Qing'er. She said I know about herbs and asked me to be in charge of this production base. Actually, I know that my pharmaceutical skills aren't outstanding. She raised her eyebrows and looked at Jiang Tian with her watery eyes. She anxiously said, Professor Jiang, I know that I'm not qualified, but I can study hard. Oh, I see, Jiang Tian felt strange. He placed his hands behind his back and walked over to Zhao Xueqing. Qing'er, why did you call her over? Jiang Tian pulled Zhao Xueqing to the side and asked in a low voice. Professor Jiang, is there a problem? Zhao Xueqing wore sportswear. She looked youthful and energetic as she smiled mischievously. She can't do it. Jiang Tian anxiously said, these are herbs collected from Shenong School and other places. They're not ordinary herbs. How can she know anything about them? Jiang Tian, I already know everything between the two of you. Zhao Xueqing's heart was warm. She held on to Jiang Tian's hand and scratched his palm with her slender fingers. Jiang Tian was shocked. What was she playing at? She scared him to death. Qing'er's eyes, which were as clear as water, rippled with infinite gentleness. She said softly, I understand your feelings. But don't you think that this is too unfair to Ling her? Chapter 340. Jiang Tian really didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He bitterly smiled and said, Qing'er, is there anyone as generous as you? You're unbelievably virtuous. Zhao Xueqing seriously said, I'm also a woman. It can even be said that I used to be a woman with a bitter life. I understand her pain and sorrow. You owe her, so I owe her. Damn, I was unrestrained in my previous life. I owed a lot of girls. Even if it wasn't 100, it was at least 80. Jiang Tian helplessly said, you're pulling them all back. Our house can't fit all of them. She's different. Zhao Xueqing frowned and firmly said, Jiang Tian, don't think of me as a petty woman who's jealous. If you think of me like that, I really don't know what's the point of living. Jiang Tian was speechless. He could only be speechless. This girl, is she testing me? Do you admit that if something happens to her, you'll be sad? Zhao Xueqing's eyebrows relaxed and her smile was exceptionally bright. Jiang Tian was speechless, but he understood that his emotions couldn't escape Qing'er's eyes. The prime of life doesn't come again, and I won't be responsible for my lover. Zhao Xueqing held Jiang Tian's big hand tightly. Her gentle eyes looked at Huang Linger, who was pruning the branches and watering the medicine field. She smiled and said, Jiang Tian, I don't want you to regret it one day because of her, and it'll be too late for regrets. So, I'll keep her by my side and love her like a sister. I absolutely won't allow anything to happen to her. Qing'er, have you ever thought, Jiang Tian's eyes flickered with a trace of sadness as he softly said, actually, if she can live an ordinary life, it's also a kind of happiness. Strong people like you and me can easily attract unexpected disasters. Is it really a good thing for her to keep her by our side? I've thought about this. But even if you send her away, do you think that no one can find out about your past with her? What's more, she is Professor Huang's daughter. Qing'er held Jiang Tian's hand and smiled. It's not that you don't love her. You're afraid and worried. But this love and worry is the reason and motivation for us to become stronger. I won't force you to accept her. Just treat her as a younger sister and a disciple. Take care of her and don't have any regrets. She squeezed Jiang Tian's hand and tightened it again. In a soft but firm voice, she said, so, hubby, let's work hard together. Protect these people we cherish and let more people smile for us. My wife has the root of wisdom. Jiang Tian suddenly picked up Qing'er and spun her around. He laughed and said, Jiang Tian, have a wife like this, what more can I ask for? Alright, I'll go to Saw Island now and rebuild my body. In addition to the gold and wood spiritual core, Jiang Tian also found a gold and wood spiritual vein on Saw Island. Although it was not very big, it was about half the size of a gold and wood spiritual core. The cultivation resources on Earth were too scarce. Jiang Tian did not want to waste this spiritual vein. Ouch, put me down. Hurry up. Qing'er was spun around by Jiang Tian until her feet left the ground. She laughed until she was out of breath. You can fly in the sky and burrow under the ground. Why are you afraid of this? You're pinching my ribs. I'm afraid of being tickled. Qing'er frowned and said gloomily. Huang Linger looked at this scene from afar. She did not know why, but she still felt that this scene was very beautiful, even though she had inexplicable feelings for Professor Jiang. This strange feeling made her stand there in a daze. She was a little confused and uneasy. Anyway, Professor Jiang said that these bellflower herbs are the most important herbs. I'll just take care of them and make them healthy. Huang Linger's lips curled into a faint smile. She squatted down and used a small hoe to loosen the soil for the bellflower herbs. One day later, on the peak of Saw Island in Singapore, a black light flashed across the sky like a shooting star. Jiang Tian suddenly appeared. Master Kong, we have been waiting for you for a long time. Brahma led many Southeast Asian evil sorcery elites to kneel down and worship Qin Xiaobei. They knew that Jiang Tian was going to cultivate in seclusion here. They had built a thatched hut to shelter him from the wind and rain. Jiang Tian did not need anything else. Go away. I am going to cultivate in seclusion. Unless I come out, no one is to disturb me. Jiang Tian waved his hand and dismissed everyone. He wanted to rebuild his body and cultivate the divine gunmetal constitution. Yes. After everyone had left, Jiang Tian took out the gold and wood spiritual cores and sat on top of the gold and wood spiritual pulse. Jiang Tian let out a long sigh. The divine gunmetal constitution is one of the 12 most powerful deity physiques in the cultivation realm. It is also one of the 5 elements deity physiques. The reconstruction technique, Gengjin divine body technique, is also the Gengjin divine sex founding technique. After mastering it, any type of metal-type Dao technique can be easily grasped without any obstacles. It comes with the divine power of 10,000 gold. It can control all metal elements within a certain range. It comes with the divine power of indestructible golden body. Its lifespan is 10 times that of cultivators of the same level. Its body is as tough as divine gold and it is not afraid of heavy firearms. It comes with the divine power of gunmetal. It can use ethereal force to form metal weapons. They are extremely sharp and can pierce through anything. It comes with the divine power of metamorphosis. It can melt and even vaporize all metal elements with its divine will. It comes with the divine power of isolation. It can isolate all matter and energy for a certain period of time. It can even withstand the attack of nuclear weapons. It is almost immune to normal attacks. The gung metal constitution was said to have 99 divine powers. However, after the body was formed, the specific ones that could be awakened would depend on luck. Wealth, companionship, dharma, and earth were the 4 essentials of cultivation. However, Jiang Tian knew that luck played a huge role as well. In the outer realms cultivation world, Jiang Tian had seen some cultivators with extremely good luck. They didn't even need to search hard. Just by being a bystander, heavenly treasures would fall from the sky. Even a meteorite would be a divine metal. One wouldn't even have the courage to be jealous. Moreover, although this gold and wood spiritual core was powerful, it was still too small. Jiang Tian was not sure which divine powers it could awaken. Jiang Tian had been cultivating for 10,000 years and knew hundreds of millions of Dharma incantations. There were more than 10 million Dharma incantations that could reconstruct the body. For example, the Golden Fire Lotus Technique, Lightning Dash Technique, 12 Heavenly Capital Technique, 3 Lives Tao Technique, Stellar Condensation Technique, and Yin-Yang Harmony Balance, were all top-notch Dharma incantations. However, these days, Jiang Tian had looked through all the Dharma incantations and finally decided to use the gung metal divine body technique to reconstruct his body. One had to know that many Dharma incantations not only required abundant spirit qi, but also other harsh conditions and materials. However, the gung metal divine body technique did not require these at all. Its effect was not inferior to other Dharma incantations, and it could make full use of the gold and wood spiritual core. This time, he did not bring anyone to protect him. All the forces were left in Jinling to protect the Jiang family. Now that he was the state preceptor of Xingzhou, the fleet around Swirling Island was surrounded by thousands of cannons. Within 20 nautical miles, everything was within the range of the Dharma incantations. If anyone came close, they would be turned into ashes. Who would dare to disturb his seclusion? Sigh, if I were to reconstruct the gung metal divine body, this gold and wood spiritual core could only help me get started. I don't know what kind of Dharma incantations I would be able to awaken. I hope my luck will be better than that little girl Qing'er. A relieved smile appeared on Jiang Tian's face. Yes, whenever he thought of Qing'er, his heart would feel warm, and he could not help but want to giggle. The gung metal divine body was one of the 12 immortal bodies. How many resources would it require to reconstruct it? It was like a bottomless abyss. The gold and wood spiritual core in front of him could barely help him get started. However, even if it could only get started, the gung metal divine body is already very powerful. Moreover, if I succeed in reconstructing it, I can convert other qi into gung metal true origin, and it will be very powerful. Jiang Tian made up his mind. A trace of determination flashed in his eyes, and he immediately started to refine the spiritual core. Whoosh! He sat down with his legs crossed. One of his hands was up and the other was down. It was as if he was hugging the sun and the moon. The gold and wood spiritual core was floating between his fingers and palms. With the activation of his art of chaos creation, the surging spiritual qi in the spiritual core began to overflow. Wisps of green qi with a hint of gold, flashing with a strange light, emerged from the spiritual core like clouds. The mist seemed to be condensed from countless golden and green water droplets. Each droplet contained a great amount of energy. The most amazing thing was that the gung metal qi, which was mainly used for killing, was perfectly wrapped by the wood qi. Otherwise, a drop of gung metal qi could crush an internal strength expert to death. However, if he could refine it, it would become an endless source of nourishment. It could change his bones and reconstruct his body. The problem of Jiang Tian's innate weak constitution could be easily solved. Boom! When Jiang Tian began to refine the gung metal qi, a drop of gung metal qi suddenly exploded, shrouding the entire thatched cottage in a strange golden light. Jiang Tian was like a Buddha bathed in the golden light. It is indeed extremely pure. I need 2 hours to refine one drop. Even if I don't sleep and rest for a day and night, I can only absorb 10 drops. Jiang Tian slowly swallowed the golden light into his body. The gung metal chi was for strengthening, and the wood chi was for nourishing. Every inch of his blood vessels, muscles, and bones were slowly changing. Jiang Tian could not help but exclaim, "There are tens of thousands of drops of gung metal spiritual liquid in this spiritual core. At this rate of absorption, I'm afraid it will take me 3 years." However, as the gung metal divine body takes shape day by day, the absorption speed will be faster and faster. I'm afraid I can reconstruct it in 3 months. Cultivation had no concept of time. To Jiang Tian, this wasn't torture but enjoyment. He felt extremely comfortable. He could clearly feel the changes and strengthening of his body. He did not eat or drink. After a day, he finally refined all 10 drops of gung metal spiritual liquid. At this time, his skin was covered with a layer of strange golden light. It was flickering as if it was covered with gold powder. The texture was extremely flexible, like flexible metal. He could move freely, but even if he did not activate his protective aura, he could still withstand the bombardment of artillery shells. As time passed, Jiang Tian's body was gradually strengthened. First, it was his skin, then his muscles, then his organs, bones, and blood vessels. All of them were stained with gold. The vast gung metal chi filled his body, transforming him in the direction of the gung metal divine body. Under the operation of the gung metal divine body technique, even the ordinary vital energy began to turn into gung metal vital energy. Chapter 341. In April 2009, deep in the Daxing and mountains, the snow melted, and the pine branches were green. At this time, the battle dragon special forces were standing in a pool of blood. The smell of blood permeated the air, and the trees and rocks were riddled with bullet marks and knife marks. The forest was filled with smoke. Corpses were piled up around them, and there were more than a dozen of them. Blood stained the ground, and limbs were scattered everywhere. Most of them were Russian C-class arcanists, or even higher. This was the result of their battle. In the past 6 months, they had intercepted the invasion of Russian arcanists 13 times at the cost of losing 3 people. They had made outstanding achievements, and had received many verbal commendations from Hua Xia's military higher-ups. This time, we seem to have beheaded 3 C-class arcanists, and 2 D-class arcanists. T-Rex took out a small silver wine flask and took a sip of the liquor. He grinned and said, "The martial arts taught by Master Kong is really powerful. It used to be difficult for me to kill a C-class arcanist, but now I can kill a D-class arcanist. The Russian Winter Soldier Organization is just so. They can only kneel and beg for mercy when they meet us battle dragon." Fox also smiled disdainfully. "Yeah, after all, we are all wearing the treasures given by Master Kong. It's much stronger than any bulletproof vest." T-Rex shook his head and took out his walkie-talkie. "Well, it's time to let the conventional troops come and clean up the battlefield. Don't underestimate the enemy. This is just Xiao Bin's vanguard. It should be said that they are just testing our strength." Qing Tian said in a deep voice. Dong dong dong. Suddenly, a sound like tamping suddenly rang out. The ground and trees trembled slightly, and the remaining snow on the branches fell down. "Be careful. There's a strong one." Tang Linglong was shocked as she looked in the direction of the sound. The sound of footsteps was very dense, as if someone was running quickly. "Are you Battle Dragon?" A towering figure suddenly appeared on the hillside 50 meters ahead. Beside him was a seductive woman in revealing clothes, high heels, and a bottle of vodka in her hand. She was so drunk that she was in a daze. "Ha, you're so proud after killing a few of our failed experiments?" His Chinese was rusty, but his laughter was unrestrained and unending. He was like an angry dragon rampaging through the forest, shaking the snow on the trees and causing the birds in the forest to fly away in panic. He had a head of wild, shoulder-length curly hair, a high nose bridge, and deep-set eyes. His appearance could be considered handsome, a standard handsome guy in the Caucasus region. However, his body was really terrifying. He was about 1.9 meters tall, but his shoulders were more than 1 meter wide. His 2 arms were abnormally large. When he stood there with his arms hanging down, the tip of his middle finger was almost above his knee. At this time, the temperature was still very low, below 0. However, he was only wearing a camouflage vest. Under his steel-green skin were extremely swollen muscles. When he stood there, he gave off the feeling of an indestructible mountain. Andre. Xiao Bin's disciple, one of the 4 great experts of the Winter Soldier Organization. Fox's expression became unprecedentedly serious. Master Qiao wants to return to Hua Xia and kill Yi Zhantian. Our goal is the long formation, not weak little worms like you. Back off now. Andre smiled proudly. Xiao Bin and the Winter Soldier Organization are not allowed to step into Hua Xia. Those who violate this order will be killed without mercy. Tang Linglong took a step forward and pulled out her battle saber. Her fighting spirit soared to the sky as she shouted. Tisk, TSK, do you want to die? Andre laughed wildly. Suddenly, he stared at a big rock next to him. It was a dense granite that weighed at least 3,000 to 4,000 pounds. You're the one who wants to die. Cheng Tian was already holding her saber. Like a nimble bird, she leaped forward and attacked. At the same time, the other 2 battle dragons who were at the peak of the iron body level also held their weapons and flanked from the ground. What is he going to do? Fox frowned suspiciously. Andre ignored Cheng Tian. Instead, he circled around the rock and nodded satisfactorily. Whoosh! Andre reached out his hand toward the rock. It used to be a rough human hand, but as he waved his hand, it had grown fur and sharp claws. Kacha! The claws glinted with a cold light. They seemed to have a metallic texture. The claws dug into the granite as if they were tofu. Roar! Andre used his other hand to push against the bottom of the granite. Both of his feet were in a horse stance, and he was actually able to forcefully lift the boulder that weighed several tons. Fuck! T-Rex cursed as a hint of seriousness flashed in his eyes. Without the power of the transcendent state, there was no way one could lift such a heavy rock. It was obvious that this was a tough nut to crack. Look! Fox's pupils shrank as her face paled. Andre took a step forward and his shoes burst open. His feet had turned into the furry claws of a wolf. The rock under his feet crumbled and formed a huge pit. The ground trembled as if there was an earthquake. Go! In the blink of an eye, Andre let out a roar and threw the boulder out like a shot put. The granite rock was like a cannonball. It carried the force of 1,000 pounds and whistled through the air toward Cheng Tian. Boom! In a split second, Cheng Tian used 1,000 pounds fall and dodged the rock by a hair's breadth. The boulder fell behind her and broke the 2 pine trees that needed 2 people to encircle. The boulder then rolled out like a football, causing snow to fly everywhere. So powerful. Cheng Tian turned around and saw a terrifying scene. She murmured, "Is that Andre?" A 2-meter-tall werewolf stood in front of her. His blood-red eyes exuded a terrifying murderous aura. Although his face had changed, she could still vaguely see that it was Andre's transformation. Whoosh! Andre's fan-like claws swung down and fiercely smashed Cheng Tian's special steel blade into pieces. He broke her neck and sent her flying with a slap. The other 2 war dragons had just raised their guns, but they had forgotten about the charming woman. The woman's delicate body twisted twice like a spirit snake, and her weak and boneless body left behind a few afterimages. Her poisonous fingernails easily cut through the carotid arteries of the 2 war dragons. Then, she flicked her tongue and licked the blood on her fingertips. Andre pounced on the 2 corpses and madly vented. He crazily dug out the internal organs of the 2 war dragons. Flesh and blood splattered everywhere. Human organs, bones, and muscles covered the ground within a radius of 5 meters. Andre only stopped when the corpses had turned into meat paste. Viper, whose body was already covered in scales, rolled his eyes at Andre. He frowned and said with dissatisfaction, "Enough, Andre. They are already dead. Prepare for the next time. Andre nodded and spat at the remains of the corpses. He viciously cursed, "May God send your souls to hell, damn yellow-skinned monkeys." "Kill!" Viper shouted. His body was full of fighting spirit. He leaped forward and pounced on Tang Linglong and the others. 10 minutes later, the 18 War Dragons team had all lost their ability to fight and were seriously injured. If it weren't for Jiang Tian's jade talisman, they would have all been killed. These two were too powerful. One was a werewolf, and the other was a snake woman. Both of them practiced secret arts and their strength was far beyond the grandmasters of Huaxia. "Huaxia, the place where I was born and raised, I am back." At this time, an old man in a plain gray robe and old cloth shoes walked slowly in the snow without leaving a trace. He had white hair and a white beard. He was at least 100 years old. His old face was full of frostbite, but there was a cold light in his eyes and a hint of murderous intent. "Master." Viper and Andre knelt on the ground respectfully. They cupped their fists and bowed their heads as if they were seeing a god. He was the Grand Master of Huaxia, the peerless Grand Master of Northeast China, Xiao Bin. He was able to defeat Yi Zhantian back in the day. Even Lin Zhenyu was no match for him. He was only defeated by the military's use of firearms. However, according to the intelligence reports, he was expelled from Huaxia and went to the Siberian plateau. Instead of settling down, he cooperated with the Russian Northern Army and founded the Winter Soldiers. Over the past 20 years, he had single-handedly built the Winter Soldiers into a super-organization comparable to the Huaxiaolong Formation, Japan's Sakura Society, America's Blue Storm, and Europe's Pantheon of Gods. In the past 20 years, he had also received the support of the vast Russian Federation and obtained countless heavenly materials and earthly treasures for cultivation. He was known as the person closest to the immortal state in the martial arts world. There were even rumors that he was half a step away from the immortal state. "Xiao Bin, you bastard! You killed the soldiers of Huaxia, how dare you call yourself a descendant of Yan Huang?" Tang Linglong was covered in blood and sat against a tree. She glared at the old man and snorted disdainfully. "Little brat, you don't know what I've been through. You're just talking nonsense." A trace of anger appeared on Xiao Bin's face. He looked down at Tang Linglong as if she was an ant and said coldly, "Kneel down and kowtow to me, and I'll spare your life. You can kill me, but I won't kneel." Tang Linglong was neither servile nor overbearing. She was unafraid of death. "In this world, I only kneel to my master." "Little brat, you have a backbone. You have such a cultivation at such a young age. Not bad. No wonder the soldiers of Huaxia always have a backbone." Xiao Bin sneered. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. "This is not only because I am a soldier of Huaxia, but also because I am the only disciple of Kang Te-Chu." Tang Linglong said proudly. "Oh. So you are the disciple of Kang Te-Chu? That's great." Xiao Bin was taken aback for a moment. Then he laughed and said, "After I capture you, I can lure Kang Te-Chu out to fight with me." "What? Didn't you come to Huaxia to challenge Yi Zhantian?" Tang Linglong was shocked. "Yi Zhantian? What's so great about him? If it weren't for the firearms used by the military, he would have been no match for me." Xiao Bin sneered and then said coldly, "Kang Te-Chu, on the other hand, has been on the rise in recent years. He is the #1 on the divine roll in Huaxia, the top 3 on the dark roll, and the grand preceptor of Xingzhou. Only by killing him can I regain my glory and become the most powerful man in the world." Chapter 342. Are you going to start a war just to see who's better and who's better than my master on the dark roll? Tang Linglong shouted angrily, "You are crazy. You are unreasonable. Other than that, your master also killed someone. That was my only grandson. Is that reason enough?" Xiao Bin said with a venomous face. "Who?" "Fu Biao. Are you surprised? His name was Xiao Biao." Xiao Bin sneered, Back then, the Qiao family was caught, killed, and sentenced by the government. My grandson was lucky enough to escape, but he had to change his name and take his mother's surname. He was a very filial child. He worked hard in Linzhou, Huaxia. He wanted to gather some forces and prepare for my return to Huaxia. I didn't expect that he would be assassinated by Dragon Fifth. His wife and daughter were killed, and he could only escape to Russia alone. Under my guidance, he recultivated. I didn't expect that he would be killed by Jiang Taichu right after he found Dragon Fifth. With a sorrowful face, he smiled bitterly and said, although I'm a highly respected official in Russia and can sit on the same level as the commander of the Northern Army and have the qualifications to talk to the Russian emperor, in the end, I'm just a white-haired man who has to send off his black-haired son, leaving me all alone. Tell me, shouldn't I take revenge? Back then, you committed crimes in the Northeast. You bullied men and women and disregarded the country's laws. This is what you deserve. You can't blame anyone, Tang Linglong retorted righteously. What do you know? A martial artist is a transcendent being. The laws of the world are nothing but ants. Xiao Bin looked at Tang Linglong as if he was looking at an idiot. Tang Linglong said coldly, don't make any more mistakes. You are no match for my master. Take her to Jinling City. Xiao Bin didn't care about her. He signaled Viper to take Tang Linglong. Then he smiled and led the two men away. What should we do? Should we report this to our superiors? Fox finally caught his breath and spoke into his walkie-talkie with a look of grief and indignation. Several of their comrades had died, and Tang Linglong had been captured. For them, it was an unacceptable defeat. Yeah, even if the military finds out, I'm afraid that Master Kong will personally take action this time. Violent Dragon furrowed his brows and said, Tang Linglong isn't an ordinary person. She's Tang Hongtu's niece. Now that she's been captured, the authorities are afraid of harming her. Ordinary firearms are useless. They can only rely on martial artists. Only Master Kong can suppress Xiao Bin. At that moment, this thought appeared in the minds of all the battle dragons. Beijing, Qiao family residence. It was a simple but elegant study. After receiving the secret report, Qiao Shixiang flew into a great rage and slammed the table as he said, this Xiao Bin is so insolent. Kill him. But the commander of Russia's Northern Army, Ananevsky, sent a telegram saying that this is a friendly martial arts competition. He hopes that the military will be tolerant and welcoming, and proceed with this fair and just. Beside him, the staff officer said with a solemn face. These bastards, don't they know that Yi Zhantian and Kang Taichu are in Huaxia? Qiao Shixiang gritted his teeth and said, after Kang Taichu massacred Jinling, even the Pantheon has expressed their goodwill to the martial arts community of Huaxia. The winter soldiers are overestimating themselves. I think it's time for our martial arts community to go abroad and show them what we're made of. A general said in a deep voice. That's right. Qiao Shixiang nodded, his anger gradually subsiding. He smiled and said, Kang Taichu's victory over the Chinese Society of Singapore is very good. Southeast Asia is very peaceful now, isn't it? The commander of the Northern Army sent this telegram because he hopes that we won't use the military. Then let's not use the military. Although Tang Hongtu was anxious about Linglong's capture, he still cared about the overall situation. He said vigorously, that's right, different circles have different rules. 20 years ago, we defeated Xiao Bin with heavy weapons, which was indeed very controversial. They said that there was no one in Huaxia who could defeat us in the martial arts world. Well, this time, we won't use the military's power. We'll use martial arts to deal with them. Qiao Shixiang smiled coldly and said, they don't know the foundation of Huaxia's martial arts. We not only have Yi Zhantian, but also Kang Taichu. Wei Feilong, you convey the top's thoughts to Zhantian. This time, I want Xiao Bin, dead. Don't worry, Elder Qiao. This time, the martial arts community of Huaxia will not disappoint you. Wei Feilong stood up and said with a serious face. Xiao Bin returned to Huaxia. This piece of news swept across the Huaxia martial arts and cultivation world like a hurricane. It was like a stone that caused 1,000 ripples. Compared to Kang Taichu or even Yi Zhantian, Xiao Bin was too famous. He became a transcendent grandmaster at the age of 30. 20 years ago, he set off a bloodbath in the martial arts world of Huaxia and killed 8 transcendent grandmasters in a row. Even Yi Zhantian, the #1 god of war in the military, was no match for him. In the end, the military sent helicopters and destroyed half of the heaven lake of Mount Picta to break his body and escape to Russia. Now, after 20 years of cultivation and with the support of the Northern Army of Russia, how powerful had he become? No one knew. They only knew that this time, he came to avenge his only grandson, Fu Biao. He pointed his sword at Kang Taichu and crushed the martial arts world of Huaxia that had brought him endless shame and pain. As long as Kang Taichu doesn't show up, I will dominate the martial arts world of Huaxia, Xiao Bin said through the dark web. Then, with the company of Viper and Andre, Xiao Bin headed south. He was invincible and defeated enemies with every step he took. He fought with the various clans and forces, causing a storm of blood and great waves. April 20, 2009, Andre fought with Qin Jiushuan, a Tai Chi master of the Qin family, and defeated him in 3 moves. April 27, Viper challenged Zhang Wendao, the sect master of the 5 tiger-breaking sect. Zhang Wendao lost. May 4, Viper fought with Zhao Yuankuan at the Poyang Water Manor. The battle lasted 3 hours and Zhao Yuankuan was severely injured. May 11, Andre fought with Wei Feilong. Wei Feilong held on for half an hour and was severely injured. In just a month, Andre's name spread across the entire martial arts world of Huaxia. As Xiao Bin's favorite disciple and the werewolf gene, Andre combined the two together and became extremely powerful. He challenged Xiao Bin 19 times and never lost. Zhao Yuankuan and Wei Feilong were both experienced grandmasters who had reached the transcendent state a long time ago. However, Andre still defeated them. The Heavenly Alliance is too weak after all. Without the support of the country, it is only a loose organization. Some people were disappointed. The Heavenly Alliance's battle at the peak of Mount Everest had brought glory to Huaxia's martial arts world. However, how could the overlords of Southeast Asia compare to the overlords of the Winter Soldier Organization? The Winter Soldier Organization had the support of Russia, a superpower in the world. They had access to a vast amount of resources and technology. I'm afraid that the long formation is still needed. The long formation is the real treasure of the country. Some people turned their attention to the long formation base in Yanjin, hoping that the long formation would be able to turn the situation around. Then, another explosive piece of news came out, shocking a group of people. On May 20th, Andre challenged Black Tortoise, one of the 4 great spirit generals of the Long Formation. It was a draw. Black Tortoise was not far from Yi Zhantian's strength. However, according to the rumors, Andre's strength was no less than Black Tortoise's. No matter how hard Black Tortoise's snake fist attacked, Andre's elbows were like giant axes and his legs were like the wind. Even the Long Formation was defeated. If Andre is already so powerful, how powerful is Xiao Bin now? Maybe he can defeat Yi Zhantian. Many people were shocked and could not believe their eyes. If Xiao Bin kills people in the name of a challenge, it will be a bloodbath. Someone said in fear, Xiao Bin's strength should be far beyond Lin Zhenyu's because the support he has is not something that Lin Zhenyu can match. Lin Zhenyu is just one of the tycoons in the big circle, but Xiao Bin has the support of Russia. Very soon, Xiao Bin's true strength was revealed, causing everyone to suck in a breath of cold air. On May 21st, Xiao Bin and his team arrived at Linzhou City. Hua Qingtian intercepted them and severely injured them. Xiao Bin killed Long Wu and Long Gadian. This battle shook everyone's hearts, and its influence was no small matter. Hua Qingtian is a grandmaster who has reached the peak of the transcendent state. If Xiao Bin can defeat him so easily, how powerful is he? Is he half a step away from the immortal state? Someone asked curiously. As soon as he said this, no one responded. There was a dreadful silence and silence. The martial arts community of Huaxia was silent. Before this, there were still people who wanted to step on Xiao Bin's body and make a name for themselves. However, after this battle, no one dared to do so anymore. If Xiao Bin was half a step away from the immortal state, no one in Huaxia would be able to stop him, not even Yi Zhangtian. On June 1st, Xiao Bin went to Jinlin City and defeated Su Zhenlei. He occupied the Banana Club and waited for Kang Taechu. Yes, after Andre defeated the martial arts grandmaster of Jinling, Su Zhenlei, Xiao Bin turned the tables and occupied the Banana Club. He called over the 13 pants of Jinling and stayed in bed every day, drinking tea and listening to music. He was as carefree as an immortal. Will Kang Taechu show up? For a time, the overlords around the world turned their attention to Huaxia, the Yangtze River Delta and the ancient city of Jinlin City. I'm afraid that Kang Taechu is scared. After all, Xiao Bin has reached the immortal state and is much stronger than Lin Zhenyu. After 3 days, Jiang Tian still hadn't shown up. Countless martial artists shook their heads and sighed in disappointment. Suddenly, the tide had turned. Many martial artists gathered at the Banana Club and paid their respects to Xiao Bin's sect. Flattery flooded the area as they bowed and acknowledged Xiao Bin as their master. Martial artists were also human beings and they knew fear. If Xiao Bin really stepped into the half-step deity realm, then he would be too invincible. Who could fight him? If he were to bathe his head in blood, he could only stretch out his neck to be executed. Moreover, the military's attitude was vague and they didn't say a word. Therefore, many rumors spread. Some people said that the military wanted to recruit Xiao Bin and shake hands with him. They even let him be the long formation team leader and lead the martial arts community of Huaxia with Yi Zhangtian. This made the martial artists even more afraid. If the news is true, then Xiao Bin's strength is far beyond Kang Taechu. He is just the Grand Preceptor of Singapore, while Xiao Bin is the overlord who leads the two superpowers of China and Russia. A martial artist was shocked. Chapter 343. That's right. Kang Taechu hasn't come out for so long. He must be on the verge of collapsing. We have to build a good relationship with Xiao Bin. It's not strange to be polite. If he leads the long formation, he will definitely attack Kang Taechu. Kang Taechu is in danger this time. That's right. Xiao Bin is much stronger than Kang Taechu. Back then, Kang Taechu dominated the martial arts world of Huaxia, staining his path with blood. But Xiao Bin always leaves some leeway. He only wants to win and never kills anyone. That's right. This is the true demeanor of a grandmaster. He only wants to spar and doesn't go overboard. He's completely unlike Kang Taechu, who is ruthless and merciless. He kills every opponent he meets. Instantly, the news spread like wildfire. The situation took a turn for the worse. Many warriors avoided Jiang Tian and his faction like snakes and scorpions. They befriended Xiao Bin and crowded the Banana Club. While Jinling was in turmoil and the martial arts world of Huaxia was shaken, Jiang Tian's reconstruction of his body had reached the most critical juncture. 9,999th drop. Jiang Tianzhang's last drop exploded with a loud bang, turning into streaks of golden light that pervaded the air. The metal and wood spirit core between his fingers instantly crumbled, turning into fine powder that drifted in the air. At this moment, Jiang Tian still looked the same, but his entire body was bathed in golden light. Even his shoulder-length hair, skin, teeth, and eyes were golden. He was surrounded by thousands of rays of auspicious light, making him look like a Buddha that had descended into the mortal world. After 3 months of wind and rain, the thatched hut at the top of Swirling Island's mountain was in a state of decay. However, it rippled with a strange golden color, as though it was made of gold. Any tree branch or grass could easily crush a peerless inner force cultivator to death. The power of the metal and wood spirit core was just too powerful. Even the exhaust that leaked out could transform ordinary matter into a peerless divine weapon. Phew. Jiang Tian took a deep breath and like a tornado, he sucked the last of the metal spirit core into his body. Kacha. As he stood up, every inch of his bones, every joint, and every piece of his flesh and blood were trembling. There was actually a series of metal grinding sounds that made one's teeth ache. His body had actually grown taller out of thin air, reaching over 2 meters. His entire person was like an enraged Vajra. Gung metal divine body is too difficult to cultivate. Jiang Tian shook his head and sighed. I thought that with my 10,000 years of cultivation experience, I would be able to push my divine body to the level of great success. But now, it seems that the best result would only be small success. Only 10 types of divine abilities can be awakened. This is also because there are too few metal and with spiritual cores, only 1. If there were more, there might be a chance to push it to the realm of great accomplishment. Fortunately, my divine body has reached the small success stage, and I have already built the framework of the divine body. In the future, when I absorb more heaven and earth spirit energy and convert it into 7th metal true essence, I can still gradually condense it to the large success stage, or even the perfection stage and the peak stage. Thinking of this, Jiang Tian nodded with satisfaction. A trace of determination appeared in his eyes as he said in a deep voice, "Forget it, forget it. It's already very good to be able to cultivate to this level. Let's take one last gamble and see if I can achieve it in one go." When Jiang Tian was about to use the Gung metal divine body technique to begin the final reconstruction of the body, the phone rang. "Qinger, what's wrong?" Jiang Tian's face was solemn as he quickly answered the phone. Jiang Tian had set up the phone so that only Qinger could call in. If there was no major incident, Qinger would never disturb him. After listening to Qinger's story, Jiang Tian said lightly, "Okay, you can do it." "Yes, you can do it. Tang Linglong is my disciple and also your sister. Teach that old bastard Xiao Bin a lesson. But don't kill Xiao Bin. After 3 days, I will come out of seclusion and personally kill this bastard." Soon, Jiang Tian hung up the phone. With Qinger around, he was not worried. Even if Xiao Bin was a transcendent state cultivator, he would not be able to defeat Zhao Xueqing. "I hope I can break through the final hurdle." Jiang Tian's face was solemn as he shouted, "Refine." Following that, the Gung metal divine body technique started to activate. Kaboom! It was as loud as thunder. Deep inside Jiang Tian's qi, it was as if thunder had struck. His true ether surged like a tidal wave and in the next moment, his fingers exploded. Bang! Flesh and blood splattered everywhere as the bones of his fingers were exposed. As if they were made of jade, they were crystal clear and shone brightly. Strange Tao inscriptions were engraved on them and they exuded an ancient aura. This is the root bone. The so-called spirit root and root bone are the foundation to reconstruct the body. As the saying goes, great buildings start from the ground. The spiritual root bone must be refined at the same time as the Gung metal qi. The Gung metal qi in the Gung metal qi is like a building material. Without it, there is no way to add bricks and tiles. Looking at the Tao inscriptions on his fingers, Jiang Tian's face flashed with satisfaction as he nodded slightly. Refine. Jiang Tian's expression didn't change. His hands exploded, his legs exploded, and in the end, even his chest exploded. His white sternum was exposed, and all his organs were blown away. Only a ball of golden qi floated in his chest like a golden wave. Moreover, there were many Tao inscriptions flickering in the qi. These Tao inscriptions could be traced back to the beginning of the universe in Hongmeng. They seemed to contain endless power and mystery. At this moment, a trace of pain finally appeared on his face. He clenched his teeth and the muscles on his face twitched. Even with his powerful divine sense and strong Taoist heart, he could not withstand the excruciating pain. Many connate divine bodies were different from the body of flesh and blood. They were completely formed by vast connate spirit qi. Jiang Tian's Gung metal divine body was formed by the Gung metal qi. As the saying goes, there can be no construction without destruction. To become a divine body, one must first break the body of the mortal body. This was the first step to reconstruct his body. In the end, Jiang Tian's head exploded and his brain splattered everywhere. Only a ball of divine sense and consciousness lingered in the air. At this moment, he was only left with a skeleton. Condense. Jiang Tian shouted softly as he activated the last chapter of the gunmetal divine body art, the shaping chapter. Streaks of golden qi flowed out of his qi. They shone with a strange golden light and spread throughout his body along his bones. They first condensed into golden liquid, then solidified into blood vessels and meridians. Then, silver light flashed and liquid like mercury was injected into his body, forming blood and saliva. Then, streams of surging gunmetal yuan qi flowed in, like adding bricks and tiles, condensing pieces of muscles, organs, and finally, the skin was covered. Hair grew like bamboo shoots after the rain, and the long hair only stopped slightly when it reached the shoulder. At this moment, Jiang Tian's bones were like jade, his blood was like mercury, his skin was like ice and snow, and his skin was like frost. He was 70 to 80% similar to before. His features were similar, but he was incomparably handsome. There wasn't a trace of impurities on his body, and he was as clean as jade. His body was like a glass cup and his heart was like a mirror. He was like a perfect heavenly god. There was nothing inappropriate about him and he exuded a strange charm. Moreover, he also had an additional wave of immortal spiritual energy, making one's soul tremble with a single glance. They would feel the urge to kneel down and submit, prostrate themselves in worship. Once a cultivator awakened their deity body or reconstructed their deity body, they would be able to change their appearance according to their own preferences. It was thousands of times more powerful than the best plastic surgery. Therefore, there was no lack of handsome men and beautiful women in the cultivation world. Instead, some people saw through the facade and changed their appearance according to their own personality or temperament. Therefore, in the cultivation world, ugly men, ugly women, children, and cripples were not to be trifled with. This was because they were experts with deity bodies or deity bodies who could change their appearance according to their own preferences. The gunmetal divine body is finally complete. It's time for me to awaken my deity body. Jiang Tian's face was a little excited. His eyes focused and he began to awaken one powerful deity ability after another. Outside the Banana Club and the area around Moling Lake. These days, many martial artists had gathered and were anxiously waiting for Kang Tae-chu to make his move and witness the battle of the century. Xiao Bin would either be boating on Moling Lake or lying high up in the Banana Club listening to music every day. He was free and unfettered, but his prestige was swelling day by day. In contrast, Kang Tae-chu's name gradually lost its luster. On the one hand, the martial artists who had gathered here were here to meet Grandmaster Qiao and establish a relationship with him. In addition, they were also looking forward to witnessing the most earth-shattering battle in Huaxia's martial arts world in the past 100 years. After all, Xiao Bin was the founder of the Winter Soldier Organization and was known as the #1 expert in Russia. He was much stronger than Lin Zhenyu. In the end, Lin Zhenyu was just an expert worshipped by the organization. Although the Great Circle was a little stronger and was a global super-organization, it was still incomparable to a powerful country like Russia. And Jiang Tian was no longer the Jiangbei Master Kang of Poyang Lake. He was the Imperial Preceptor of Xingzhou, an expert on the Dark Roll, the leader of the Heavenly Alliance, and the #1 Grandmaster on the Divine List in Huaxia. He had already made a name for himself and was no longer the same as before. It could be said that this battle was even more eye-catching than the battle between Jiang Tian and Lin Zhenyu at the Poyang Lake Manor. It's been 4 months and Kang Tae-chu still hasn't shown up. Is he planning to be a coward until the end? What kind of grandmaster is he? Kang Tae-chu became famous when he was young. It's normal for him to be afraid. It's not strange. But I heard that his disciple Tang Linglong was captured by Grandmaster Qiao, but he's still a coward. The #1 Grandmaster on the Divine List? Bah! What a joke! What kind of heavenly alliance is this? They're still protecting Huaxia. Now they don't even dare to show up at their doorstep. Yeah, Wei Feilong, Zhao Yuankuan, and Hu Qingtian are no match for him. They can't even defeat his disciple. This wait had lasted 4 months since Qiao Bin returned to Huaxia. Gradually, everyone lost their patience. From the initial excitement and anticipation, to anxiety and torment, to disappointment and doubt. Finally, it turned into endless mockery and indifference. Wei Feilong felt it the most. In the beginning, many martial artists supported Jiang Tian and went to the injured members of the Heavenly Alliance to comfort them. Even if they didn't dare to attack Qiao Bin, they still scolded him with righteous indignation to show their attitude. But gradually, as Qiao Bin's 2 disciples defeated them, no one cared about the Heavenly Alliance anymore. There were even 2 grandmasters who quit because they were too old to care about the disputes in Jianghu. As a result, the Heavenly Alliance had become a laughingstock in the eyes of the martial artists in the world. A bunch of weaklings and cowards. Chapter 344. Ling Nan and Jinling were also in turmoil. Many people were eager to cut ties with the Sky Alliance and Kang Taechu. However, Wei Feilong did not blame others. Martial artists were also human beings. It was human nature to seek advantages and avoid disadvantages. Martial artists could not avoid this custom. I'm afraid Kang Taechu will still not appear today. It's no surprise. If Kang Taechu dares to appear, would he wait until now? Maybe he has already escaped from Huaxia. On this day, many martial artists gathered at the Banana Club to chat and drink tea. They casually ridiculed Kang Taechu. In fact, ridiculing Kang Taechu had become a new trend in the martial arts world. Creak, the black door was pushed open from the outside. A graceful figure walked slowly into the courtyard. There's a beauty. She should be a waitress. A female martial artist is rare in Huaxia. Everyone was discussing in surprise. Mistress. You are. Su Zhenlei, who was entertaining guests in the courtyard, saw this and hurried forward. He bowed and cupped his fists excitedly. These days, he had been bullied by Qiao Bin. He was regarded as Kang Taechu's henchman. His arms were broken and his face was covered in dirt. Even so, he had to serve Qiao Bin every day. He was often scolded and slapped by Viper and Andre. It could be said that he was living a life worse than death. Seeing this, everyone was even more stunned and bewildered. Who was this woman? How could she make Su Zhenlei so respectful? He was the overlord of Jinling. Oh, I'm bringing my husband's disciple, Tang Linglong, back. Zhao Xueqing faintly responded. Looking at the bandaged arm hanging in front of his chest, her face sank. She frowned and said, that old thief Qiao Bin did this? Yes. Mistress, please excuse me. Su Zhenlei had an awkward expression on his face as he smiled bitterly. Sorrow welled up in his heart. He shook his head, causing his white hair to sway. It was as if he had aged 10 years in an instant. Thinking back to when he advanced in seclusion, he thought he could dominate Su province. At that time, he was so high-spirited and full of heroic spirit. But who would have thought that when he encountered a true expert, he would be trampled on like an ant? The ideal was plentiful, but the reality was bony. From now on, you're a member of the Heavenly Alliance. The Heavenly Alliance will make decisions for you, uphold justice for you, and avenge you. Zhao Xueqing said indifferently, don't worry, Qiao Bin is definitely dead this time. We will pay blood for blood. Hee, your tone is very arrogant. Suddenly, a figure flashed and appeared in the courtyard. It was Viper. Her blonde hair draped over her shoulders, and she held a bottle of vodka in her hand. She was drunk, but her malicious eyes stared at Zhao Xueqing, emitting a vicious and cold light. She said in broken Huaxia language, you don't even respect my master. Do you want to die? She's out. Get out of the way. Seeing Viper appear, many martial artists in the surroundings retreated. Their eyes were full of fear, afraid that they would be implicated. Su Zhenlei hurriedly introduced her from the side. Zhao Xueqing's pretty face turned cold, and she said, "Where's Tang Linglong? Hand her over to me." "Hand her over to you? What right do you have?" Viper exhaled a strong smell of alcohol, and her face was full of disdain and ridicule. "I'm Kang Teichu's wife. I'm passing a message on behalf of my husband. 3 days later, he will experience Mr. Qiao's skills on Moling Lake. My husband said that Tang Linglong is only a junior. He's just in seclusion, and he will never back down. Mr. Qiao, you don't have to restrain him. Don't bully the weak, and lose the demeanor of a master." Zhao Xueqing's pretty face was cold as she said coldly. "What if we don't hand her over? What can you do to me? Are you going to kneel down and kowtow?" Viper looked at her mockingly, and the corners of her bright red lips rose into a mocking arc. She looked at Zhao Xueqing as if she was retarded. She might be afraid of Kang Teichu, and she might need to be cautious when meeting Kang Teichu. But his wife looked like an ordinary person, so what was there to be afraid of? "I'll give you 1 minute to consider. If you don't hand her over, you'll die." Zhao Xueqing's pretty eyebrows furrowed slightly. She raised her wrist and looked at the time on her Patek Philippe watch with a little impatience. She's Kang Teichu's wife. She dares to come in front of Qiao Bin, isn't she afraid of death? Kang Teichu is going to accept the challenge? Or is he just using this as an excuse to save his disciple? I've only heard that Kang Teichu is very strong, but I've never heard that Kang Teichu's wife is proficient in martial arts. Once Qing'er's words came out, the entire crowd was shocked. Many martial artists whispered to each other and discussed animatedly. They looked at Zhao Xueqing in surprise. "Sigh, she's the same as Kang Teichu. She doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Even Hu Qingtian isn't Qiao Bin's opponent. She came over and dared to threaten this bewitching woman. Isn't she just asking to be killed?" Some martial artists were mocking her. They couldn't detect any martial artist's aura from Qing'er. They only felt that she was a delicate and weak woman. They immediately looked down on her and felt that Zhao Xueqing was extremely retarded and didn't know what was good for her. "Ha ha ha, are all the women around Kang Teichu so arrogant and ignorant? I heard that Kang Teichu is a crazy wife-doting demon. I didn't expect him to be so unbearable. He doesn't dare to stand up for himself and let his wife take the bullet. That's hilarious. What a cowardly Huaxia man." Viper gulped down a mouthful of vodka and laughed heartily as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world. "Good. 1 minute is up." The surroundings were filled with mocking laughter. Qing'er turned a deaf ear to these mocking voices. Suddenly, she retracted her gaze from her wristwatch. Her pretty face turned cold and she said coldly, "You can die now." At this moment, a powerful aura of the immortal body of the stainless phoenix rose from Qing'er's body and soared into the sky. So strong. Feeling the sharp and powerful aura, Viper's face changed. His pupils suddenly contracted to the size of a needle and the vodka in his hand shattered. She had already realized that the person in front of her was a super expert. She had to strike first to gain the upper hand. Her body leaped and pulled out a series of afterimages. Her sharp poisoned nails scratched towards Zhao Xueqing's tender neck. Zhao Xueqing was faster than her. With a wave of her fingers, a sharp qi weapon that was 3 meters long slashed out like mercury flowing down the ground. What? A transcendent grandmaster. At this moment, Viper was scared out of her wits. Her expression changed drastically. Qing'er's cultivation was much stronger than she had imagined. Snake scale protection secret art. In a blink of an eye, she raised her arms in front of her chest and unleashed her supernatural power. Suddenly, snake scales appeared on her arms. They flashed with a strange cold light like an eerie iron armor. The scales moved slightly, trying to block Qing'er's attack. She had also practiced the snake body tempering art. However, she was much more powerful than the rattlesnakes that Qing'er had encountered before. Her genes had mutated and her body had become as tough as a snake's skin. It was invulnerable to fire and water. However, all of this was useless against Qing'er's phoenix body chi weapon. Puff! Her arm, which was tough enough to withstand bullets, was actually cut off by the sharp chi weapon. Amidst her mournful screams, smelly and poisonous blood spurted out from her severed arm like a small fountain. After chopping off her arms, the chi weapon didn't slow down at all. It directly cut through her scale-covered chest into two. Then, her corpse fell to the ground in two pieces, splashing out scarlet blood. One of Xiao Bin's 4 disciples, Viper, was dead. What? She is so powerful. She killed Viper with a wave of her fingers. She can use the chi weapon. She is also a grandmaster. Everyone gaped at Viper's body on the ground. They couldn't believe it. Viper was Xiao Bin's disciple and had defeated Zhao Yuankuan. Rumor had it that she was an S-level warrior and had a strange bloodline. Even a transcendent grandmaster had to be wary of her. However, she was no match for this woman. Little did they know that Qing'er had the supreme immortal body of the immortal phoenix. That chi weapon was so sharp that it could even split an armored vehicle into two and cut through everything in the world. Bitch, you are so arrogant. A thunderous roar came out like a clap of thunder. Many people felt a sharp pain in their eardrums and were on the verge of collapsing. A tall, surging, and incomparably violent figure shot out from the 3rd floor like a cannonball, bringing with it an indomitable and violent aura. The figure traveled a dozen meters. Clang! It landed on the ground, creating a 3-meter-wide crater. The ground shook violently, as if there was an earthquake, and dust flew everywhere. How dare you kill Grandmaster Qiao's disciple? Are you tired of living? Kneel now and I will spare your life. Andre suddenly appeared and glared at Zhao Xueqing with bloodthirsty eyes. His fists were clenched so tightly that cracking sounds could be heard. He took a step forward and approached Zhao Xueqing. Unruly bastard. Zhao Xueqing frowned and lifted her jade-like hand. Her slender fingers were like peeled spring onions. They were crystal clear and did not contain any impurities. They were extremely beautiful. Kneel. Then, with a shout, her jade-like hand slapped down casually as if she was swatting a fly. Kaboom! There was a loud noise and the air changed. It was like a thunderclap. The friction in the air was like a grenade explosion. A giant palm formed by the aura of the divine phoenix, which was 3 meters long, suddenly appeared 5 meters above Andre's head. Then, it came crashing down like a mountain. What is this? Andre raised his head to take a look, and his eyes were filled with shock. Then, his special ability awakened, and the hair on his body rapidly grew out. He turned into a werewolf and raised his hands to burn the sky, wanting to use his strong physical body to take on this attack. Bang! His body was strong, but it was useless against Qing'er's attack. The divine phoenix's aura was extremely condensed and heavy. It was not an exaggeration to say that a ball the size of a basketball could crush a physique refinement grandmaster to death. Pfft! Andre felt as if thousands of mountains had crashed down on him. He spat out a mouthful of blood. As Qing'er's hand pressed down slightly, Andre's feet sank a few centimeters into the ground. Creak, creak, crack. The bones all over his body made a strange, ear-piercing sound of metal rubbing against each other, as if they were going to fall apart in the next second. Under this powerful force, he gritted his teeth and roared. He struggled with all his might and revealed his werewolf form. However, he could not withstand it at all. He bowed, bent his knees, and knelt. Chapter 345. Bang! He was hit so hard that he fell to the ground like a toad, almost sinking into the mud and bricks. He was completely covered by the huge palm of Qi. The whole place was dead silent. Everyone was horrified and dumbstruck. Their throats were hoarse and they couldn't make the slightest sound. It was as if they had fallen into a dream and didn't dare believe it. Only Andre's screams and curses kept coming out. Women are really not inferior to men. Kang Tae-chu has such a fierce wife. What more could a husband ask for? Only Su Jinlei was not surprised. He was excited and full of admiration. He knew that Zhao Xueqing's attack was just a prelude. Qing'er's cultivation was taught by Master Kang. If she was so powerful, how powerful would Kang Tae-chu be when he came out of seclusion? That would cause a great storm. Lady Jiang, you are indeed a supreme beauty. You are unparalleled. A voice as loud as a bell rang out. It was so powerful that many martial artists bowed down. Even Su Jinlei couldn't bear it and took a few steps back. Xiao Bin appeared in front of the window on the third floor. He stood with his hands behind his back and looked down at Zhao Xueqing with admiration. It's not an exaggeration to say that if I met you 20 years ago, I would have to avoid you. As soon as these words came out, everyone was shocked. 20 years ago, Xiao Bin was slightly better than Yi Zhantian. But Xiao Bin gave Kang Tae-chu's wife such a compliment. Didn't that mean that she could even defeat Yi Zhantian 20 years ago? She seemed to be in her early 20s. It was not an exaggeration to call her a young girl. But her cultivation was so powerful. Sister Qing'er came to save me. But why did she come to save me? Why didn't I save her? Beside him, Tang Linglong looked at Zhao Xueqing with a complicated expression. She felt a little warm, a little ashamed, a little unwilling, and a little jealous that she herself didn't want to admit. She wanted to replace her. What? Grandmaster Qiao's evaluation of this woman is simply shocking. 20 years ago, she was able to suppress Yi Zhantian. Doesn't this mean that this woman's strength is even stronger than Yi Zhantian's? Everyone's faces were filled with shock as they looked at Zhao Xueqing with awe and fear in their eyes. Xiao Bin's evaluation could be said to not be stingy with his praises, praising Madame Jiang to the heavens. However, no matter how strong you are, I will not let you off for killing my disciples. Xiao Bin sneered. The monstrous aura of a master realm expert pushed out. It was as if Mount Tai was pressing down, as if the Milky Way was hanging upside down. It made people shudder and unable to withstand it. Grandmaster Qiao, the battle between you and my master is a battle between two masters. Don't involve these juniors, okay? Even in the face of Xiao Bin, a peerless expert, Zhao Xueqing's aura didn't weaken at all. She smiled calmly and said, we haven't fought yet, but we have already attacked each other's disciples and juniors. Those who know will say that we are joking with them. Those who don't know will say that we are narrow-minded and bully the weak. Madame Zhang's words are beautiful. Reasonable and reasonable. Soft on the outside but tough on the inside. You are indeed Kang Tae-chu's wife. Xiao Bin's anger disappeared and he clapped his hands with joy and admiration. He smiled and said, Kang Tae-chu has such an immortal companion. How enviable. He said with a gratified face, this old man did not expect that in just a few years, Hua Xia would have such a pair of stunning beauties like you. You are so much stronger than Yi Zhantian. You flatter me. Zhao Xueqing was at ease and her temperament was ethereal. She was like a fairy who had descended to the mortal world. She smiled and said, the two of us just want to live a peaceful life. We won't stir up trouble or compete with others. However, we are not afraid to fight with people like Mr. Qiao who came to our door and kidnapped my master's disciple. We are not afraid to fight. Not to mention Mr. Qiao, even if the commander of the Northern Army is our enemy, we will still deal with him. Arrogant, too arrogant. She is not even afraid of the Russian army. She is so powerful that she can swallow the sun and the moon. She is indeed Kang Tae-chu's wife. Even though these words were spoken indifferently, they were boundlessly domineering and arrogant, and it simply shocked everyone present. Nonsense, how high is her cultivation level? I'm afraid she is only at the peak of the transcendent state. She is not qualified to fight against the superpowers of the world. Some people thought it was nonsense, but they were frightened by Qing'er's majesty and did not dare to raise their voices. They just whispered. Not afraid to fight, not afraid to fight. Women are not inferior to men. Xiaobin smacked his lips and said with a smile, if Mrs. Jiang is so magnanimous, I believe Kang Taechu will also fight with the old man. Well, I won't make things difficult for the younger generation. Take this child away. Then he patted Tang Linglong's back and she immediately fell in front of Zhao Xueqing. Qing'e used a gentle force to catch Tang Linglong. Tang Linglong's face changed and she immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. The blood contained ice crystals and white cold air spread out. Zhao Xueqing scanned the blood with her divine sense and her face turned cold. She said, Old man Qiao, you are too much. You actually took advantage of the situation and injured her. And you keep saying that you won't make things difficult for the younger generation. Oh, I see. I believe Kang Taechu, but I don't trust the officials of Huaxia. Xiaobin smiled and said, I planted a cold ice profound qi in her body. If the officials don't play any tricks, when Jiang Taichu makes his move, I will give the antidote to this girl. If the military makes a move, no one can cure this profound qi, and no medicine can cure it. After a week, she will be frozen into a lump of ice. 20 years ago, I suffered a loss from the officials. This cold ice qi was so domineering. Even though it was July, Tang Linglong still felt as if she had fallen into an ice cellar. Her entire body was cold, and there was actually a white mist lingering on the surface of her body. Her meridians and internal organs felt as if there were tens of thousands of sharp knives stirring. The intense pain was so unbearable that she couldn't help but tremble. But she did not want to disgrace her master, so she gritted her teeth and said, Sister Qing'e, I'm fine, Zhao Xueqing clasped her wrist and channeled a stream of divine phoenix vital essence into her to protect her heart aperture. Then, she fed her a few qi-nourishing elixirs. Holding her hand, she walked out of the door without looking back and said in a cold voice, Old thief Qiao, you better not run. 3 days later, my husband will fight with you at Moling Lake. An old man can run. What a joke. Xiaobin sneered, his face full of disdain, you and Kang Taechu are not bad, but you are still far from an old man. I will let that little kid Kang Taechu know how powerful I am. The founder of Russia's Winter Soldiers, the veteran Grandmaster Xiaobin, would fight with Kang Taechu at Moling Lake in Jinling on July 15, 2009. When this news spread, Huaxia's martial arts world was the first to be shaken. Xiaobin was a renowned veteran grandmaster in the northeast during the Republic of China. He was once the head of the personal guards of the warlord Zhang Laoshuai. Even Zhang Shaoshuai had to respectfully address him as Master Qiao. In the 1990s, during the long formation Operation Drawing Sword, he was the only strong person who could compete with Yi Zhantian. It could even be said that he was stronger than Yi Zhantian. In the end, the military used heavy weapons to force him out of Huaxia. He was wounded and went to the Siberian glaciers, but it was a blessing in disguise. He was highly regarded by Russia's Northern Army and built the Winter Soldiers in just 20 years. He led the Winter Soldiers in Russia for 20 years, killed the Blood Clan, controlled the werewolves, and suppressed the tyrants. His military achievements were outstanding, and he was qualified to be on equal footing with the Russian Emperor. Because of these brilliant military achievements, the Winter Soldiers could be on par with the Western Pantheon and Japanese Cherry Blossom Society with a longer history. They could even suppress the Singapore Chinese Society. As for Kang Taechu, although he was a rising star, his military achievements were also brilliant. He had killed Lin Zhenyu on Poyang Lake and became famous overnight. After that, he established the Heaven Alliance as the #1 Grandmaster on the divine role in Huaxia. During the battle on Mount Everest, he defeated all the strong people in Southeast Asia. Then, he massacred hundreds of Dark World elites in Jinlin City. Around the Spring Festival, he went to Singapore and killed Wang Chongyan to defend his position as the Grand Preceptor of Singapore. He took control of the Chinese Society of Singapore and became a superpower that shocked the world. Today, the two of them were going to collide violently like Mars crashing into Earth. For a moment, this news swept across the entire Dark World like a hurricane. The news spread like an earthquake. It spread out of Jinlin City and Hwaseong. South Korea, East Asia, Western Europe, North America, and the Middle East were all paying close attention to the battle. The observer said that Kang Tae-chu was qualified to be on par with the top forces in the world. I didn't expect him to clash with the Winter Soldiers so soon. Kang Tae-chu has finally accepted the challenge. Kang Tae-chu is in seclusion. I'm afraid he will be half a step away from the immortal state when he comes out this time. Xiao Bin will also be half a step away from the immortal state. After all, he has the support of Russia. That means this will be the first battle between two half-step immortal state warriors in decades. Countless overlords' eyes lit up. This was a battle between half-step immortal state warriors. How exciting would that be? It had been many years since an immortal state warrior had appeared in the world, let alone in the dark world. After all, after the birth of nuclear weapons, the immortal state warriors either died or went into seclusion. Time passed quickly in the ticking sound of the second hand. The 3-day agreement was almost up. Master Kang is still not back. Will something happen to him? Tang Hongtu waited anxiously at the Fulong Mountain Mansion. Although the energy of the Phoenix Girl's deity body was powerful, Zhao Xueqing was still a far cry from Jiang Tian in terms of medical skills. Although she had injected a lot of true essence into Tang Linglong, her body was deteriorating. Only 2 days had passed, and she was extremely weak. Even with a few layers of blankets and a stove beside her, her body was still frozen. Her skin was blue and her internal organs were failing. By then, the beautiful girl's cheeks had caved in, and her cheekbones were exposed. She was unconscious. He was on the verge of death and was extremely weak. He was like a lamp that had run out of oil and was on the verge of death. He was unconscious and kept talking nonsense. It seemed that he was about to die. Chapter 346. Calm down. Since Master Kang said that he will come back on time, and he will save my granddaughter. Accompanied by Jiang Changgang, Elder Tang walked out of the ward with a cane and said firmly. He was naturally worried about his granddaughter's situation. He had infinite confidence in Jiang Tian. He was a godlike figure who would never go back on his words. While everyone was waiting anxiously, a black light flashed in the sky like a meteor. Everyone only saw a blur in front of their eyes, and a tall and dignified figure appeared in front of them. Master Kang. You're back. Tang Linglong's mother, Chen Xian, wiped her tears and said. Master Kang. Everyone exclaimed and greeted him, as if they had seen a savior and a god. They were soon relieved. Don't worry, Linglong will be fine. I'll go and see. Jiang Tian gave her a comforting look and walked into Tang Linglong's room. As if they had a tacit understanding, the moment Jiang Tian walked into the room, Tang Linglong opened her eyes slightly and murmured, Master, you're back. Am I dreaming? It's not a dream. I'm back. Jiang Tian squeezed her palm. You're really back. I've embarrassed you. Tang Linglong was moved and apologetic. Tears with ice crystals rolled down her cheeks. Don't think too much. Jiang Tian picked her up and sat her in his arms. He fed her a fire spirit pill, and then put his palm on her back and poured a stream of vital essence into her. Master, I seem to be better. Tang Linglong was refreshed and instantly felt much better. Her whole body was warm, and she felt indescribably comfortable. Don't talk. It'll be fine in a while. Jiang Tian poured his vital essence into her body as if it was free to help her refine the pill. It could be said that Xiao Bin's ice profound qi was indeed terrifying. There were less than 5 people in the world who could dispel this kind of evil energy. However, this fire spirit pill was refined by Jiang Tian using the flesh and blood of the scarlet-eyed white ape. It contained the fire element, and after being strengthened by many heavenly treasures, it had a nourishing effect. It could be said to be a miraculous elixir, and its effect was very domineering. Under the powerful effect of the fire spirit pill, the ice qi in Tang Linglong's body disintegrated rapidly. Her exhausted internal organs and blood vessels were quickly nourished. Her shriveled cheeks swelled at a speed visible to the naked eye. It's done. 10 minutes later, Jiang Tian withdrew his hand and said with a smile. As expected, Tang Linglong felt that her body was warm and full of strength. She was overjoyed and said, "Master, it's really healed." "Thank you. You're still being polite with me, you're my only disciple." Jiang Tian smiled and pinched her pretty nose. "Master, please go out." Tang Linglong suddenly pulled up the quilt to cover her face and said shyly. "Why? I'm too ugly now." Tang Linglong's voice was full of shyness. "Silly girl, how are you ugly? Look at yourself in the mirror." Jiang Tian said with a smile. Tang Linglong got up suspiciously. She came to the mirror and looked at herself in disbelief. "Ah, master, I've become beautiful." At this time, she had a graceful figure, fair skin, and exquisite facial features. Her face was full of a faint immortal aura. She was even more beautiful than before she was sick. "Master, you're so good. This elixir must be very expensive." Tang Linglong looked at Jiang Tian gratefully. Her eyes were red and she was about to cry. "Silly girl, you're talking nonsense. You're my disciple, so I naturally have to protect you for the rest of your life." Jiang Tian smiled faintly and said, "It's just a stream of ice qi. Even if Qiao Bin, that old thief, killed you, so what? I'll find your divine soul and help you reconstruct your physical body." Hearing this, Tang Linglong felt warm in her heart. Then, she said embarrassedly, "Master, I've embarrassed you this time. Our War Dragon Alliance didn't succeed in killing Qiao Bin, so he could return to Huaxia and set off a bloodbath. No, it's not your fault." Jiang Tian smiled and comforted her. "Qiao Bin is not in the same order of magnitude as you. He has the support of Russia. Even Hu Qingtian is not his match." "What's so strange about that?" "Master Kong, we were defeated by Qiao Bin and brought shame to the Heavenly Alliance. Please punish us, Master Kong." Jiang Tian helped Tang Linglong to recuperate for another hour before he walked out of the door. Immediately, Wei Feilong, Zhao Yuankuan, Hu Qingtian, and other backbones of the Heavenly Alliance came up to him. They bowed and clenched their fists in shame. "You're not guilty if you're not afraid of fighting. It's not your fault that there's a difference in strength." Jiang Tian patted Hu Qingtian's shoulder and said calmly. Dragon Fifth and his son were killed by him. The old man couldn't stop him at all. "We just found out recently that Fu Biao, who you killed in Snakehead Town, was his only grandson," Hu Qingtian said sadly. "Besides, Cheng Tian and 2 war dragons were killed." Tang Hongtu clenched his teeth and said angrily. "What? Dragon Fifth and his son are dead? Cheng Tian is also dead?" Jiang Tian's face darkened. A sharp killing intent flashed in his eyes as he said coldly, "It's right that he challenged me, but he shouldn't have killed my disciples. This time, I'll kill him myself and let everyone see the price of offending the Heavenly Alliance." In fact, he didn't have a good relationship with Dragon Fifth and his son, so he didn't take them seriously. However, since they belonged to his sphere of influence, no one could touch them. As for the war dragons, they were personally trained by him, so no one could offend them. However, Cheng Tian had been killed by them. Even with Jiang Tian's indifferent state of mind, he couldn't bear it and was boiling with anger. "Master Kong, you have to be very careful in this battle. Qiao Bin is more powerful than before. I'm afraid he's half a step to the divine realm." Everyone was shocked and said worriedly. So what if he's in the divine realm? I can kill him with one hand." Jiang Tian laughed coldly. His words were overbearing, suppressing the world. Just as everyone was shocked, Jiang Tian stepped on the flying sword and turned into a black light. He pierced through the void and disappeared in a flash. "Master Kong has refined the flying sword successfully. He's flying in the sky and burrowing into the earth." He's just like an immortal. This time, old thief Qiao will definitely die. Everyone was dumbfounded and couldn't believe it. Then, they were overjoyed and excited. Moling Lake, also known as Xuanwu Lake, was a famous tourist attraction in Jinling City. It was Mount Jijin in the east and the Ming City Wall in the west. It covered more than 500 hectares and was the largest royal garden lake in Huaxia. It was known as the Pearl of Jinling. Today was the weekend. Many tourists wanted to visit this place but found that a large number of military and police officers were not allowed to enter. At this moment, Meng Yao was walking on the stone path beside the lake unhappily. Her long hair draped over her shoulders, and her face was exquisite. Her snow-white shirt was neat and tidy, and her silk three-quarter pants revealed a section of her snow-white calves. Her black, genuine leather, diamond-studded crystal high heels revealed her pink toes. She was like a perfect domineering president. However, there was a melancholy between her brows that couldn't be dispelled, adding a bit of artistic aura. She was like the pitiful little sister Lin, causing many people to turn around and look at this beautiful girl. Meng Yao, are you thinking about that big bad guy again? Tang Bao asked beside her. No. Meng Yao squeezed out a smile. You're still denying it. Ever since we were kicked out by that bastard and Su Ruoqing at the Banana Club, you haven't smiled much. Tang Bao smiled. If you ask me, Du Mingtao is not bad. He has a good family background, is handsome, and cares about you. He's not like Jiang Tian, who's so arrogant and ignores us. Her tone was a little resentful, but as she spoke, her voice gradually became softer. It was clear that she was very wary of Jiang Tian. Ever since House Jiang defeated the three noble houses of Jinling, Tang Bao was completely frightened. Even Su Ruoqing was obedient to Jiang Tian. It was like a legend. This Du Mingtao she was talking about was Meng Yao's new suitor. His family was the second in command of the Jinling Police Department and was quite famous in Jinling. In Meng Yao's eyes, Du Mingtao was more than worthy of her. He was even stronger than her previous suitor, Xia Miao. But for some reason, compared to Jiang Tian, she felt that Du Mingtao paled in comparison. She wasn't interested in him at all. She thought about it carefully, but she still couldn't figure out her feelings for Jiang Tian. Like? Love? Fear? Jealousy? Dissatisfaction? Disbelief? Regret? Dissatisfaction. All kinds of complicated feelings were in her heart. But in short, in this half a year, the name Jiang Tian had been entrenched in her mind and occupied her heart. She didn't want to give up on Jiang Tian. She knew that Jiang Tian had a good relationship with Shen Manong, who worked in Fersky's lab. She asked him to help her contact Su Ruoqing so that she could enter the Banana Club. But it was strange that Jiang Tian hadn't appeared in the Banana Club for the past 6 months. Banana Club wasn't open to outsiders these days. Meng Yao, drink some juice. It's too hot. Du Haitao, who was walking in front, bought 2 bottles of freshly squeezed juice from the convenience store and handed it over with a smile. Let's go boating. Tang Bao suggested excitedly. Bao that's a good suggestion. The two of them nodded and walked forward, but they were stopped by the police tape. Sorry, there's martial law in front. Sightseeing is prohibited. Please go back. The man in a black suit said coldly and expressionlessly. What kind of joke is this? There are tourists there. Why are they going in? Which department are you from? Tang Bao said unhappily. They have permission to enter. Sorry. The man in black's walkie-talkie rang. He walked into the economic zone and pulled out the walkie-talkie from his waist, ignoring the 3. At this moment, Meng Yao's pupils shrank. She frowned in shock. He has a gun at his waist. Du Mingtao, who was very handsome and could even be called a handsome guy, smiled, revealing a row of white and neat teeth. He said indifferently, "Don't worry, I'll make a call to the municipal bureau. There's nowhere in Jinling that I can't go." As he spoke, he dialed his father's number, but after a moment, he hung up the phone resentfully and said, "I'm sorry. There's nothing we can do. My dad said that there's a big leader coming to visit the lake. It's locked down. There's no room for negotiation. Then there's nothing we can do." Just as the two girls were feeling disappointed, everyone saw more than a dozen Audi commercial vehicles with government license plates and military off-road vehicles with red license plates from the Jinling military district. They formed a magnificent motorcade and sped over. Chapter 347. After the motorcade stopped, a group of middle-aged men with extraordinary auras got out of the car and walked over quickly. "Master Yu." Du Mingtao's eyes lit up as he saw a familiar face. He quickly went up and said, "Can you bring us over? I had to beg my dad for a long time to get in here as a secretary. How am I supposed to bring you guys?" Yu Cheng frowned, a trace of disdain and disgust flashing in his eyes. "Master Yu, please give us some face," Du Mingtao begged. Meng Yao and Tang Bao also looked at him expectantly. "Your friends?" Yu Cheng looked at the two girls who looked familiar. They were probably famous in Jinling's socialite circle, and he didn't want to embarrass him in front of them. After some hesitation, he finally said, "All right, come over. But don't make a sound. Today's a big day." The three of them happily blended into the crowd, and Tang Bao was getting more and more shocked as she looked closer. The chief of Jinling's military, Secretary Fan of the province, Secretary Yu. They were all big shots at the provincial level. When they reached a pavilion on a mountain peak, Meng Yao and Du Mingtao looked around and were shocked as well. Su Zhenlei, Ruocheng Sis, they're all here. And these people, all of them have extraordinary auras. They're all wearing Tang suits and Chinese tunic suits. On the stone path, in between the pavilions and terraces, there were experts with imposing auras. As they blinked, their eyes glowed brightly, faintly revealing a sharp killing intent. "Mingtao, watch your eyes. Don't look around. These are all practitioners." Yu Cheng frowned. He wouldn't have brought them up if he knew this was going to happen. He'd be even more screwed if his dad and the others found out. "What? Practitioners? Why are there so many practitioners?" Meng Yao and Tang Bao were shocked. They'd only just noticed that some of the practitioners they'd seen at Poyang Lake were here as well. Was this the same as Poyang Lake Manor? Not only that, but they'd also seen some foreigners with blonde hair and blue eyes. They'd thought they were normal tourists. However, most of them were espers, fighting masters, secret technique inheritors, and eccentric cultivators. Each of them was a powerful existence. This time, they had obtained official passes from Hua Xia and were allowed to watch the battle. However, after the battle, they had to leave Hua Xia immediately. This was also why Chao Shixiang and the other senior officials of Hua Xia had high hopes for Jiang Tian and had 100% confidence in him. "I hope we can use this battle to raise the prestige of our country, intimidate the strong people of the dark world, and scare off those who covet Hua Xia. You guys also know about warriors?" Yu Cheng was surprised and stunned. Then, he whispered mysteriously, "This time, it's the pinnacle battle of the martial arts world. The #1 Grand Master of Russia versus the #1 Grand Master on the divine list of Hua Xia, Master Kong." "Master Kong? Which Master Kong? It wouldn't be Jiang Tian, right?" Tang Bao chuckled, and she was clearly teasing him. In her heart, she had a deeper impression of Jiang Tian as the crown prince of the Jiang family. Although she had heard people call Jiang Tian Master Kong, she couldn't connect him with the current Master Kong. Huh? Yu Cheng was slightly stunned. This little girl knew Jiang Tian. However, she didn't know the truth that Jiang Tian was Kong Taichu. It seemed that their relationship was quite distant. Forget it, there was no need to tell them. Time flew by quickly as the hour hand turned. Strong people began to arrive one after another. Boom! A thunderous sound rang out. A surging and wild figure shot into the mountains like a heavy cannon, causing the earth and mountains to shake. American Fighting Master Gray, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu expert. Legend has it that he's already dead. I didn't expect him to still be alive. Many powerful figures from the dark world were shocked to see this, and they all gasped. Gray was once the top fighter in Cuba and a close comrade of Che Guevara. In the 90s, he had committed heinous crimes in the United States and killed many elites of the FBI and the CIA. In the end, he was suppressed by Blue Storm. No one had expected him to appear again 20 years later. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Gray's arrival was only the beginning. Following that, many other strong people appeared and flew over. All of a sudden, a skinny old man in a yellow robe rode over on a brightly colored tiger. The tiger ran as if it was flying and roared in the forest, shocking a group of people. However, when the old man sat down, it curled up under his feet like a docile cat. One of the 3 gurus of the Indian Brahmin, Jing'an. It's said that he's the senior brother of Guru Qing Lian, who died on the peak of Mount Everest. Is he here to seek revenge on Kang Taechu? Many strong people present exclaimed and made all kinds of guesses. Another wave came before the first wave had subsided. Lee Jinju, the goddess of South Korea. Why is she here? Someone asked in confusion. Lee Jinju walked over under the escort of many South Korean strong people. Her beautiful eyes were charming and moving. Just a single glance at her would cause one's heart to beat wildly and their souls to be hooked by her. You don't know, right? She's the heir of Tanjun of South Korea. Then, other strong people appeared one after another. Some of them leaped high and low like goshawks hunting rabbits. Some of them controlled their special abilities, their bodies flashing frequently, turning into afterimages. They concealed their auras and hid in the forest like venomous snakes. Some of them moved as fast as lightning, suddenly appearing like ghosts. Some of them even rode on huge mountain eagles with wings of 5 to 6 meters. They were simply like the gods of legends. In an instant, many powerful figures showed off their abilities. Their auras surged, and their figures shot out. A total of 20 global giants of the dark world had arrived. Most of them had the combat power of a beauty state warrior and were proficient in all kinds of martial arts and secret arts. Some of them were Class D and Class S special ability users. However, they were all peerless overlords who were not far from the immortal state or even the immortal state. So many strong people. This is unprecedented. This battle is really exciting. I'm looking forward to it. How many years has it been since we last saw this? It's far more powerful than the battle between Kang Taechu and Lin Zhenyu, an overlord from the dark world exclaimed in shock. Lin Zhenyu is just a leader of an organization. How can he be qualified to compete with Xiao Bin? He has the support of a powerful country and is a peerless overlord who can talk to the Russian emperor directly. Someone said coldly. Be it Kang Taechu or Xiao Bin, they were the strongest experts of their countries and regions. They were the treasures of the country, and Lin Zhenyu could not be compared to them. It's not strange. Wang Chongyan is strong enough. He cultivates both magic and martial arts and is said to have the combat power of a half-step immortal state, but no one said that he has the power of a half-step immortal state. Today, it's a battle between 2 half-step immortal state warriors. Some strong people thought so. That's right. Kang Taechu and Xiao Bin, 2 strong people. One is the National Master of Singapore, the leader of the Chinese society, and the other is the founder of the Winter Soldier Organization. They should be half-step immortal state warriors. This kind of battle has not happened for a long time. Who would want to miss it? Someone nodded in agreement with excitement and expectation in his eyes. Finally, the Sky Alliance appeared. Hua Qingtian, Wei Feilong, Zhao Yuankuan, and other martial arts masters gathered. There was no lack of perfected Dharma cultivators like Hong Yi, Su Wenjie, and Tao Fengshi. The Sky Alliance. Kang Taechu is only in his 20s, and he already has such great power. Who can stop him in 10 years? Many strong people exclaimed in surprise. Fear rose in the hearts of many magnates of the mortal world. Yes, the Sky Alliance did not defeat Xiaobin this time, but the power of the Sky Alliance was enough to make people afraid. Every time the Sky Alliance fought with an enemy, they followed the rule of martial arts and fought one-on-one. But if so many strong people attacked together, Xiaobin might not be able to resist. But there were no rules in the battle in the dark world. Most of the time, it was a big fight. The one who fell was the loser, and the one who stood was the strong one. Moreover, Xiaobin and the Winter Soldier Organization were among the top 10 super organizations in the world. It was normal that the Sky Alliance was not a match for them. But now the Sky Alliance was at least among the top 20 in the world. Moreover, Kang Tae-chu had the Singapore Chinese Society in addition to the Sky Alliance. The combination of the two made their power even stronger. Now, Kang Tae-chu's power was not to be underestimated. It could suppress 99% of the strong people and organizations present. Since the Sky Alliance is here, Kang Tae-chu should be here too. Where is Xiaobin? Why hasn't he appeared yet? Jing'an asked with furrowed brows. Boom! With a loud sound, a figure flew over as fast as lightning. The figure landed on a huge rock in the mountain. An old man in a kendo suit, wooden clogs, and a katana at his waist suddenly appeared. Qiao Sang, your old friend came all the way from Japan to support you. Why hasn't he appeared yet? The Japanese old man's voice was like rolling thunder. It penetrated the heaven and earth and spread for 10 miles. It could be heard even in the depths of the downtown area. It was shocking. Japanese Bachin one-blade kendo master, Chiba Masahiro. His strength is among the top 20 in Japanese kendo. He is far more powerful than Chiba Masai Chi and the others. The strong people present looked at the old man in horror. Mr. Chiba, you are too impatient. Finally, a figure shot from the Banana Club into a richly ornamented pleasure boat on Moling Lake like a lightning arrow. Then, he looked at the area where the Sky Alliance was and let out a thunderous roar. Kang Tae-chu, the time is up. You should wash your neck and wait for me to chop it off. His voice was like rolling thunder, spreading in all directions. It was so domineering that everyone felt a sharp pain in their eardrums. They felt dizzy and couldn't even stand properly. Countless people looked at Xiaobin on the pleasure boat and exclaimed, Grandmaster Xiaobin is coming out. Kang Tae-chu should be coming out soon too. Many people clenched their fists and breathed quickly. They were waiting anxiously. They were all frightened and excited. My old friend Xiaobin, we haven't seen each other for 20 years. It's time for us to spar. Jiang Tian hadn't come out yet. Suddenly, a figure rose from a pavilion in the northeast. Although this person was 60 years old, he didn't look old at all. Instead, his face was like jade. His skin was fair and rosy, and his hair was black. He stepped between heaven and earth, and his eyes were as deep as the sea. He stood proudly in the void, his black clothes fluttering. His sword-like eyebrows slanted to his temples, and his long hair draped over his shoulders like a waterfall. He was extraordinarily handsome. His deep eyes flickered with a bright light, and his entire body emitted a monstrous aura of an expert. He was like an unsheathed treasured sword, revealing its sharpness and awe-inspiring killing intent. Yi Zhantian. All the experts present exclaimed one after another. Their faces were filled with shock, reverence, and fear. No one expected that Yi Zhantian, who had been in seclusion for many years, would come to the battle between Xiaobin and Kang Tae-chu. Chapter 348. Yi Zhantian. A once-in-a-century genius who reached the transcendent state at the age of 30 and became a major general in Huaxia at the age of 40. Especially in the 90s, he single-handedly launched Operation Unsheathed Sword against the evil martial artists 20 years ago. He suppressed Lin Zhenyu, retreated from the Great Circle, killed one Yanfang, suppressed the United Bamboo Gang, killed the Grand Magus Spirit, suppressed the Witch Tribe of Dianan and many other Grandmasters in exchange for 30 years of peace and long-term stability in Huaxia. He was known as the god of war in the army. His achievements were recorded in history. His honor was supreme. His fame spread across the world. Later, after he retired, he became the leader of the Huaxia Long Formation and became the creator of the Grandmaster Divine List. He single-handedly suppressed Huaxia's martial artists for half a century. Huaxia's martial artists, the #1 Grandmaster in the world. It was because of him and the Long Formation that the Japanese Cherry Blossom Society, the European Pantheon Temple, and the American Blue Storm did not dare to set foot in Huaxia. Huaxia was also known as the Forbidden Land of the world's Dark Masters. Kang Te-chu, with his invincible momentum, won the title of the Hero of the Nation, the Good General of the Nation. However, Yi Zhantian and the Long Formation were respectively praised by the higher-ups as Sword Guts and Zither Heart, unparalleled warriors of the nation, and the Great Wall of Steel, the nation's treasure. Kang Te-chu may be as powerful as a dragon, invincible and undefeated since his debut, but he was still a newcomer. There was still a certain gap between him and a veteran like Yi Zhantian. Yi Zhantian is going to make a move. Seeing this, Hua Qingtian's face suddenly changed. He is also coming out. Zhao Yuankuan's brows furrowed. That's not surprising. The Long Formation has been operating in secret for too long. Huaxia's martial artists only know Kang Te-chu, and the Long Formation and Yi Zhantian's limelight has been overshadowed by Kang Te-chu. This time, he is going to kill Qiao Bin, build up his glory, and suppress Kang Te-chu. Wei Feilong sighed with a complicated expression. He knew his old friend's thoughts better than anyone else. The battle at Poyang Lake where he killed Lin Zhenyu, the battle at Mount Everest, the bloodbath in Jinling, and the battle at Hassa Island in Singapore. Jiang Tian's 4 battles had made a huge impact on the world. He had been advancing triumphantly all the way, like a hot knife cutting through butter. His name was so well known that it seemed like he was about to overshadow Yi Zhantian. If Yi Zhantian did not take any action, the world would only know about Kang Te-chu and forget about Yi Zhantian. At the sight of Yi Zhantian's appearance, not only the masters of Huaxia, but also many foreign masters, including Jing'an, Qin Yazhen, master of Jiu-Jitsu, Gray, and many other foreign masters, all showed a little shock and fear. They bowed their heads slightly to show their respect to this powerful man whose name had shaken Huaxia for 30 years. Qiao Bin was like a lofty mountain peak, while Yi Zhantian soared into the sky like a dragon. The two powerhouses stared at each other from afar, and the atmosphere suddenly became tense. Many people's hearts almost jumped out of their throats. Dark clouds as dark as ink covered the sky above Moling Lake, and the sky became gloomy. The atmosphere was so tense that it seemed as if the air had become viscous, as if water was about to drip out. Kaboom! A loud bang. Suddenly, silver snakes danced in the depths of the clouds, and thunder boomed. The wind howled, stirring up the lake water and causing heavy rain to fall. The world was in chaos. Zhantian is really going to make a move this time. What is his cultivation level now? An old man in an old military uniform stood on top of a mountain, holding a big black umbrella. He looked extraordinary, but his face was full of emotion. Next to him was a man with thick eyebrows and big eyes. He had a powerful body and a murderous aura. He was one of the 4 great spirit generals of the Long Formation, a phenomenal success physique refinement grandmaster, Xian Wu. Half a step away from immortal state. Xian Wu bowed slightly and said in a deep voice, "My master has been saving his energy for the past few years. He knows that Qiao Bin has the support of the entire Russian country and has probably entered the half a step away from immortal state." Qiao Shixiang nodded with a serious face and asked in a deep voice, "In your opinion, what is Qiao Bin's cultivation level now?" "I have fought with his disciple, Andre. In my opinion, Andre should have the power of the perfected transcendent state." Xian Wu's face was also extremely serious. He said in a deep voice, and Xiao Bin's cultivation level can only be described with one word, what? Unfathomable. Xian Wu said. The three great spirit generals behind the two, Red Bird, White Tiger, and Azure Dragon, as well as the 8 long formation experts, were all shocked and their hearts tightened. Yi Zhantian was the leader of the long formation and the pillar of Huaxia. If he fell in this battle, it would be a disaster for the martial arts community of Huaxia. For great spirit generals of the long formation, 8 troops, listen up. Suddenly, Chao Shixiang gritted his teeth and said slowly. The long formation awaits orders. The 12 peerless masters immediately straightened their bodies like swords, surging with battle intent and murderous intent. Sneak into all parts of Moling Lake. If Yi Zhantian fails, kill Xiao Bin immediately. Chao Shixiang said word by word. Yes. The 12 of them showed off their movement skills, leaping high and low, moving stealthily, quickly disappearing on the spot and sneaking into all parts of Moling Lake. Grandpa, this time, my master will win, right? Chao Jianjia asked worriedly. It will be difficult. Chao Shixiang was silent for a moment and finally shook his head with a wry smile. If Xiao Bin did not have 100% chance of winning, how would he dare to come to Huaxia? I think I have underestimated him a little. What? Master will lose? Just as Chao Jianjia was feeling anxious and troubled. Suddenly, on the shore of the lake, everywhere on Purple Mountain, many martial artists were in an uproar. Kang Teichu was here. In the depths of the lotus fields, a small black boat pushed open the waves and slowly moved towards the center of the lake. On the bow of the boat, a young man in white stood with his hands behind his back. His posture was indescribably elegant. The man's face was handsome, almost like a god descending from the heavens. Next to him stood a beautiful young girl in green clothes. She was holding an oil paper umbrella. The two of them stood side by side, like a pair of immortal couples. They could be called a pair of jade beauties, otherworldly. He is Kang Teichu. He is so young. Many rich people and high-ranking officials watching the battle exclaimed. This is Kang Teichu. Many people's faces changed dramatically, their eyes fixed on the young man. When did Master Kang become so handsome? Hua Qingtian and the others were greatly surprised. They did not know that Jiang Tian had changed his appearance to Gengjin body. He wanted to hide his identity and must not involve the Jiang family. How did he fly over just now? And he is so young. Yi Zhantian also turned around abruptly. This was the first time he saw the famous Master Kang. Qing'er, did you notice something strange? At this time, Jiang Tian on the bow of the boat suddenly frowned. Yes. Under the water. Qing'er's brows furrowed. Her face was solemn. Then she said with a little disgust, what the hell is this? It looks like a fish, but it has 4 limbs and a membrane on its fins. Why does it look so bloody and disgusting? This is a type of mutated beast called the Taotai fish. It specializes in devouring the qi and blood of martial artists, and its flesh is also a great tonic. The nutrients contained in a single Taotai fish are comparable to a top-grade pill. If so many of them are devoured and refined together, it's enough to allow an ordinary martial artist to advance to the deity realm. Specialized in consuming the blood of martial artists? Can't the martial artist kill them? Qing'er was shocked. It's useless. Jiang Tian chuckled and shook his head. This is an ancient strange beast. It doesn't kill ordinary people, but it specializes in restraining martial artists. The aura of martial artists can't hurt them. It seems that Xiao Bin didn't come here to kill me for revenge, but to advance. Qing'er quickly came to a realization. Her expression changed slightly as she said, also, look, there seems to be some, yes, there are many dormant monsters. Defective mantises, golden flying lizards, armored black crocodiles. There are more than a dozen kinds. Jiang Tian said lightly. It seems that he came to Jinling in June. He must have released these demonic beasts into Moling Lake and the surrounding mountain peaks since then. There are more than 1,000 of these Taotai fish. And these monsters can consume the blood of martial artists to refine top-grade elixirs. Hubby, he made a big fuss to lure you here, and even Yi Zhantian and many experts from around the world. His purpose is actually... Qing'er's heart suddenly sank. The more she thought about it, the more she felt that this person was terrifying. Her delicate body trembled slightly. He wanted these monsters to catch us all, bite us to death, and devour us completely. Then he would take these monsters and fly away. He didn't want to make a name for himself, nor did he want revenge. He wanted to advance to the immortal state. Yes, Xiao Bin's purpose has been achieved with all the experts in the world gathered here. Jiang Tian sighed helplessly. Even Elder Chao has been fooled by him. Now, 12 experts of the Long Formation have sneaked in. If we are not careful, we will become food for these monsters and resources for his advancement. Then what should we do? Qing'er was a little worried. Let's drive them all away first. Jiang Tian smiled bitterly and then said, Yi Zhantian. For spiritual generals of the Long Formation. Don't interfere in the dispute between me and old thief Qiao. I can kill him with one hand. Why aren't you retreating? His voice was clear and melodious, like an arrow piercing through the clouds. Everyone heard it clearly. Hearing this, everyone was shocked and couldn't believe it. Yi Zhantian, the #1 expert in Huaxia. Martial arts tycoons, even veteran grandmasters like Hu Qingtian, and ordinary people, even billionaires and feudal officials, would respectfully address Yi Zhantian as War God or Dragon Head. Who would call him by his name like Jiang Tian? This Master Kong was really arrogant and domineering, extremely arrogant. The monstrous domineering aura that looked down on all the heroes in the world soared into the sky. Even the dark clouds that shrouded Moling Lake seemed to have a large hole torn open. Master Kong, the old man has been in seclusion for 10 years to wait for Lin Zhenyu and Xiao Bin to come out. Lin Zhenyu has been killed by you. No matter what, you have to leave one for the old man. Yi Zhantian had already landed on the top of a pleasure boat. He looked at Jiang Tian and smiled slightly. You are Yi Zhantian? Jiang Tian's face was calm, and he said calmly, hurry up and take your 12 children to protect the leader. You are no match for Xiao Bin. You will regret it to death if you suffer heavy losses later. Today, I will kill Xiao Bin. As soon as these words came out, many experts were stunned. They looked at each other for a while, unable to believe it. They were all stunned and shocked by Jiang Tian's monstrous domineering aura. Chapter 349. It was one thing for him to call Yi Zhantian by his name. But now, he was calling the 4 spiritual generals and the 8 divine warriors kids. Wasn't this too arrogant? The 4 spiritual generals and the 8 divine warriors had all reached the transcendent state or even the peak of the transcendent state. All of them were powerful overlords that could take on 100 men by themselves. However, Qin Fan did not take them seriously at all. He is a genius to have reached the peak of the transcendent state at such a young age. But what's the use of being a genius? Chiba Masahiro sneered. As far as I know, Yi Zhantian has already reached the half-step immortal state. Once he reached the immortal state, he would be able to use divine powers. He would be able to speak the mantra of truth, and any grandmaster would be as weak as ants. In front of Yi Zhantian, Jiang Taichu is nothing but a chicken and a pottery dog. Exactly. Kang Taichu is too arrogant. He doesn't know that there is always someone more powerful than him out there. Jing enchanted Buddha's name as she pressed her palms together. Her face was filled with compassion and regret. She could not believe that her brother Azure Lotus would die at the hands of such an arrogant person. I am afraid that the Long Formation and Yi Zhantian will not let him off the hook so easily. Many overlords speculated. Arrogant fool. Do you know how powerful my master is? I, Black Tortoise, will teach you a lesson. Die. By then, Black Tortoise could no longer stand it. His tall and surging body was like an angry dragon emerging from the sea. He leaped out of the water near the black boat, bringing with him a huge white wave that was more than 10 meters high, almost capsizing the small boat. Then, he let out a roar and threw a punch at Jiang Tian. Black Tortoise was known as the king of soldiers. He had cultivated the dragon-elephant demon subduing art and had reached the transcendent state. His body was made of steel and could withstand heavy machine gun fire. He had the strength of the dragon elephant and could shatter a 1,000-pound boulder with a single punch. Years ago, he was on a mission in a North African country and was besieged by warlords. He was able to flip over several heavy military armored vehicles with his bare hands. In ancient times, this was a peerless general who could fight against 10,000 people, just like Xiao Yun, Yan Qing, and Hu Zubing. In his rage, he smashed his fist down. It was as if the sky was tilting and Mount Tai was pressing down. The sound of wind and thunder filled everyone's ears. A large white hole was torn open in the murmuring curtain of rain by the force of his fist. The black boat Jiang Tian was on sank slightly, and a deep hole appeared on the water surface with a radius of 5 meters, faintly forming the shape of a fist. The entire lake seemed to tremble slightly. Andre, who was watching the battle from the shore, was shocked. So strong. He didn't use his full strength when fighting with me. Are you just testing me? In response, Jiang Tian's expression didn't change at all. Black Tortoise? I've heard of you. You're the so-called king of soldiers. You're just a brat. Get lost. Then, he waved his hand casually. Pa! With a loud bang, the black tortoise's huge body, which weighed over 200 kilograms, was sent flying dozens of meters away like a spinning top that had been whipped by a whip. Clang! He smashed into a rock on the shore and slowly slid down, spitting out a mouthful of blood. Fuck! The black tortoise struggled to get up, clenching his fists. His bell-like eyes were wide open, and his bear-like muscles were trembling slightly. His face was livid as he stared at Jiang Tian in disbelief. He had always been conceited. Although he had heard of Kang Teichu's fame, he didn't believe it at all. He had always wanted to fight with Kang Teichu. Now that Jiang Tian had made a move, he realized that he had seriously underestimated Kang Teichu's strength. Kang Teichu must have held back his strength in this slap, and only used his qi. If he had been hit by the full force of the slap, he would have died without a doubt. Yi Zhantian, are you still not leaving? Jiang Tian didn't even look at him. He turned to Yi Zhantian and smiled bitterly. Do you want to fight with me first? You want to kill Xiao Bin? Yi Zhantian was as calm as a mountain. He gently shook his head and said, maybe you have the strength, but Xiao Bin's level is beyond your imagination. It's no longer as simple as the martial arts world. Xiao Bin can only be killed by me. You're a young talent. You defeated the black tortoise today. You really live up to your reputation. You can challenge me if you want, but not now. I don't care what level is involved. Jiang Tian said lightly. My disciple Tang Linglong was injured by him. Long Wu and his son from the Heavenly Alliance were killed by him. Cheng Tian and 2 dragon warriors were killed by him. Hua Qingtian and Zhao Yuankuan were also injured. And I'm a very narrow-minded person. I don't hold grudges overnight. Today, I must kill Xiao Bin. You want to fight with me? That's fine. I'll enter Yanjin within a year. By then, we can have a battle. Yes, he had never forgotten the secret of the map of the ruins of immortality. When the time came, he would pay a visit to Professor Gu Baixian. Also, that family broke off the engagement but kept the map of the ruins of immortality for themselves. It didn't make sense. When the time came, he would take it back. Yi Zhantian hesitated for a moment. Suddenly, he waved his sleeve and used his internal force to drive the boat closer to Jiang Tian. He stopped 10 meters away from Jiang Tian. He smiled slightly and said, I saw that you stepped on a flying sword and entered the black awning boat between the lotus leaves. That flying sword, where did you get it? No one in the entire martial arts world knew how to control a flying sword. What exactly was this method? Also, you just waved your hand and the flying sword disappeared. Where did you hide it? Also, I know your background. You were an ordinary person 3 years ago. What kind of martial arts did you practice? How did you advance so fast? I can't figure it out. One day, you and I will fight. If you win, I'll tell you everything. If you lose, I'm sorry, you don't have the right to know. Jiang Tian smiled indifferently. This old man's perception is incredible. He seemed to have his back to me at that time, but he sensed everything. Also, you're too curious. You're like a curious baby. Do you have 3,000 questions for the rainbow cat and the blue rabbit? Are you saying that you want to drag me back to the lab and cut me into pieces? Good, very good. You're not afraid of anything. Huaxia, you're the first person who dares to talk to an old man like that. Yi Zhantian was not angry at all. He clapped his hands and smiled. You can kill Xiao Bin this time. But I have one condition. I'll be your backup. That's not too much, is it? I can't let him get away again. Jiang Tian suddenly turned to look at the cliff and smiled strangely. Did you notice that Chao Shixiang has left? Huh. That's strange. Elder Chao said that he wanted to witness the battle himself. Yi Zhantian frowned. I told him to leave. Why? There are many strange insects and fish in the water. If you don't leave now, you won't be able to. Jiang Tian shook his head helplessly. Why didn't you say so earlier? Yi Zhantian wanted to cry. I tried to persuade you, but you didn't listen. Jiang Tian said sadly. Black Tortoise even attacked me. Didn't you see? Also, I'm afraid that old Crook Xiao would have made his move if I told him to. You have to let the leader go first, right? For spiritual generals, 8 divine troops, Huaxia's martial arts world, friends from afar, retreat. Yi Zhantian raised his eyebrows and shouted. His voice shook a few miles away. Yi Zhantian was a supreme and respected figure in the Long formation. The 4 spiritual generals and 8 divine troops listened to him. They jumped out of the water and ran out of the cordon. However, other martial artists might not be able to follow orders like that. Most of them stayed where they were and talked among themselves. Kang Teichu, you found out. You have a good eye. Xiao Bin grinned. A glint of malice flashed in his eyes. He made a series of hand seals and chanted a series of ancient spells. Thousand Beasts Formation, rise. With a loud roar, he stomped his foot, causing the lake water to violently ripple. The surrounding pleasure boats shook violently, nearly capsizing. Retreat? Why should we retreat? You guys can fight like crazy, but you can't hurt me. A martial artist named Qin Jiushuan stood at the bow of one of the boats and sneered. He was a martial arts grandmaster and the successor of the Qin family's Tai Chi fist. Andre was very indignant about his previous defeat. At this moment, he could only watch as Xiao Bin was eliminated by someone else. Suddenly. Crack. Crack. A series of bone-chilling noises rang out. In less than a minute, the boat sank into the water and was about to capsize. Huh? What is this? Fish? Disgusting. Qin Jiushuan suddenly found a strange fish about 20 centimeters long on the bow deck. It had a long and narrow body, colorful limbs, and a mouth as sharp as a sword. He didn't take it to heart. He raised his leg and kicked out. However, there was a sudden change. The strange fish with colorful patterns suddenly flapped its fins and flew up like lightning, directly attacking Qin Jiushuan's face at an incomparably fast speed. Qin Jiushuan did not even have time to scream. The flying fish had penetrated his head and shot out from the back of his head with a red and white substance. Its wide-open mouth was already filled with white, steaming brain matter, which, together with its long and sharp teeth, formed a creepy and horrifying picture. Everyone was dumbfounded, as if they were clay sculptures. This was too scary. Chen Jiuxuan was a martial arts grandmaster. He had been in the ancient martial arts realm for decades and had never been defeated. However, his head was pierced by a fish and he did not even have time to scream, let alone dodge or defend. How terrifying was this? Gulp. The flying fish flapped its fins at high speed and swallowed the steaming brain matter in one gulp. Its two fish eyes shot out a greedy and cold light as it stared at the people on the boat as if it was looking at delicious food. Chen Jiuxuan had not fallen yet. The fish flew through his chest again and swallowed his heart. Then it turned back and pierced his lower abdomen again and swallowed his intestines. It repeated the process again and again. Its speed was so fast that it was dazzling. In a flash, the Taotai fish had pierced countless bloody holes in Chen Jiuxuan's body. Splash! Chen Jiuxuan was bleeding like a bloody gourd. He fell into the lake with a splash. Chapter 350. Instantly, a few hundred striped Taotai fish swam over, or they were like numerous arrows that shot out explosively as they flashed to the side of Chen Jiuxuan's corpse, and then they squeezed together in a dense mass before opening their bloody mouths and biting with all their might. The fish heads moved and blood surged, arching Chen Jiuxuan's body. After a while, Chen Jiuxuan was eaten until only a white skeleton was left. It was clean and gleaming with a cold light. Even the brain matter in the skull had been emptied. The empty eye sockets stared silently at the sky. The white bones rippled, making everyone's hair stand on end. What fish is this? Why is it so weird? Is it the legendary piranha? Everyone was shocked and exclaimed. Can piranha hurt martial artists? This is a Taotai fish, a primitive beast, a primordial monster. Let's go. Jiang Tian's voice came. In addition, you can't use your qi to resist. This fish loves martial artists' qi and blood the most. You can't resist it at all. Everyone from the Heavenly Alliance is wearing the protective jade amulet. Help the martial artists of Huaxia in time. At this time, the pleasure boat where Chen Jiuxuan was almost completely submerged in the water. Let's go. Upon hearing Jiang Tian's words, everyone displayed their movement techniques one after another, leaping high and low, shooting fiercely towards the shore. The warriors on the other pleasure boats also saw this strange scene and hurriedly followed, leaping towards the shore. Qi! 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 One by one, the Taotai fish jumped out of the water. They were so dense that it was impossible to count them. They shot toward the crowd like arrows. Hong Hichu was among the martial artists who were running away. He now had the cultivation of the phenomenal success of internal force. He stepped on the waves and ran for his life. Disgusting things, go away. Seeing the strange fish rushing toward him, the genuine qi in his body surged and his internal force shook. He slapped a Taotai fish in his face heavily. Bang! That Taotai fish was hit by the palm and was sent tumbling in the air, moving a few meters away. But immediately, it quickly waved its wide fleshy fins and floated in the air. Its fish eyes were glowing with a cold light, staring at Hong Hichu fiercely. Damn, what kind of monster is this? At this moment, Hong Hichu felt a sharp pain in his palm. His heart sank, his whole body emitted cold air, and his hair stood on end. His internal strength cultivation was also very strong. He could send a boulder weighing hundreds of kilograms flying with a single palm. However, this Taotai fish was actually so strong. It was actually safe and sound. Was it made of titanium alloy? Moreover, he felt that this Taotai fish seemed to have intelligence. Apart from the hatred in his eyes, there was also a hint of disdain. It was as if a high-level creature was looking down on a low-level creature. In just a few seconds, Qi! An extremely ear-piercing, teeth-numbing sound rang out. The Taotai fish refracted in a curved line, leaving behind afterimages in the air as it pierced towards him again. Scram! Hong Hichu couldn't dodge in time. He circulated all his qi and blood, filling every inch of his muscles and skin. In an instant, his muscles bulged and swelled. His body was like fine iron. Even if a machete were to chop him down, it would not leave a white mark. Puff! However, all of this was useless in front of the Taotai fish. His chest was instantly pierced through by the sharp fish mouth, and even the aura around him was completely absorbed by it. Hong Hichu screamed. Blood spurted out from his chest as he fell into the lake. Hichu! Beside him, Zhang Mingli exclaimed. She dived in and picked up Hong Hichu. Seeing that Hong Hichu was seriously injured, she shouted angrily, "Monster, come out. I'm going to kill you." Ever since she met Hong Hichu at the Poyang Lake Manor, the two of them had fallen in love. After a period of contact, their relationship became deeper and deeper. The Hong family of Gan Province and the Zhang family of the Five Tigers Breaking Blade also agreed to the marriage. The two of them were already engaged. Seeing her lover injured at this moment, she felt like her heart was being cut by a knife. She was furious and could not bear it. Behind her, there was the sound of water splashing. Zhang Mingli raised her long blade and turned around. She gritted her teeth. However, the moment she saw the monster, her face turned ashen. Her mouth was wide open, and she could not even make the slightest sound. The lantern-like giant eyes opened its bloody mouth and spewed out a stinky breath. Its fangs were sharp and long, shining with a cold light. They were as sharp as daggers. It was just a fish head, but it was as big as a millstone. Roar! A loud sound was heard. This adult Taotai fish swallowed Zhang Mingli from head to chest in one gulp. Its big mouth opened and closed. Its disordered fangs crazily rubbed against each other. It chewed and swallowed. Broken bones, fresh blood, and pieces of internal organs splattered everywhere. Mingli! Zhang Qitian roared. His tiger eyes were filled with tears. He pounced like a tiger and chopped down on the fish head with his blade. However, it was useless. Zhang Qitian's long blade was immediately shaken out of his hand, and the blade turned over. In the next moment, he was also attacked by many Taotai fish. He turned into a pile of flesh and bones and was swallowed into the fish's stomach. Such frightening scenes were happening all over the area of Moling Lake. Screams, cries of pain, and curses were incessant. One after another, martial experts fell into the water and were swallowed by the densely packed Taotai fish. Soon, the water was dyed red with blood. White skeletons floated into the air one after another. The people watching the battle on the mountain peak were also affected. Many people fell. Even Jing'an was trapped by many monsters. Then, more than a dozen Taotai fish jumped over and ate him clean. Only a pile of bones was left. This was a bloody scene. It was incomparably horrifying. Everywhere, there were powerhouses screaming, calling for help, and cursing. In the pouring rain, powerhouses were injured and fell. In the blink of an eye, they were eaten clean by many monsters and turned into piles of white bones. This time, Xiao Bin's layout was like an inescapable net. Monsters were everywhere within a few miles. There were golden flying lizards flying around in the sky. There were defective mantises, armored black crocodiles, and many other monsters in the forest. There were even Taotai fish by the lake. There was simply nothing in the world that could not be found. Although there were people from the Heaven Alliance escorting many martial artists out. However, the Taotai fish and many other monsters were too ferocious. Nevertheless, the martial artists' losses were still great. In just a few minutes, several Grandmaster-level powerhouses had fallen. Martial artists with internal strength and iron body, as well as other powerhouses and superpowered people from all over the world, were also killed or injured. On the contrary, ordinary people were not attacked. They screamed and were immediately escorted out by the guards. But after a scare, a few days of nightmares, and a few years or even a lifetime of psychological trauma, it was inevitable. Although Yi Zhantian was not injured, he was also flustered by these Taotai fish. It was simply too strange. Even if his chi-condensing weapon could split a tank in half, it could not do anything to these strange fish. Seeing martial artists fall one by one, Yi Zhantian was furious. He shouted coldly, "Old thief Qiao, you entered Hua Xia in the name of martial arts competition. Your target was me and Kang Taichu. Now that you have killed so many people, aren't you afraid that the military will use heavy weapons to blow you to pieces? Ha, I can break through to the immortal state in an hour. Unless you use nuclear weapons, you can't hurt me." "What? You want to kill me with nuclear weapons? Too bad, this is Hua Xia, this is Jin City, you can use nuclear weapons to blow me up. Millions of people will die with you anyway." Qiao Bin's blood qi surged and his cultivation rose at a speed visible to the naked eye. He laughed triumphantly. "Old thief Qiao, have you absorbed enough? Have you reached the peak of the immortal state?" Suddenly, Jiang Tian laughed. Kang Taichu, you have a good eye. How did you know I was absorbing?" Qiao Bin laughed strangely. His eyes were bloodshot and flashed with demonic light. Blood qi surged from his body. "There is a fish queen on your back. It can absorb the blood qi of all the worker fish from a distance and then you can absorb it and convert it. This is even faster than refining elixirs." Jiang Tian laughed. "Kang Taichu, you are a cultivation genius. You are much more knowledgeable than Yi Zhantian and the others." Qiao Bin was slightly startled before he nodded his head in admiration. Then, he faintly smiled and said, "You're right. This kind of fish is from the Arctic. They have strong vitality and can survive in both seawater and fresh water. It was an ancient shaman in the Caucasus region who taught me how to use these fish. They call these fish bloodthirsty water wolves. I didn't expect you to know their habits. I have tamed the fish queen with the ancient method taught by the shaman. She lives in my body and infuses the blood qi she absorbed into my body to form my cultivation. But I don't know why you didn't do it. Do you know that the fish queen has absorbed the blood qi of 10 transcendent state cultivators? After I absorb all of them, I can enter the immortal state and see the truth of the immortal state." Qiao Bin asked. Yi Zhantian looked at Jiang Tian curiously and anxiously. These worker fish can't be too far away from the fish queen. Many martial artists have retreated to a safe area. Whether I strike earlier or later, I can still kill you with a raise of my hand. I'm not going to kill you. I just want to ask you, where did you find these fish in the Arctic? If you tell me, I will spare your life today." Jiang Tian asked patiently. These Taotai fish were mutated species from the Great Desolate Era. Jiang Tian guessed that they might have come from the Immortal Ruins realm. "Kang Taichu, don't talk nonsense. I am about to enter the immortal state. You are no match for me." Qiao Bin was extremely arrogant and domineering. He smiled coldly and said, "Are you interested in the blood qi cultivation method? Seeing that you are a genius, if you obediently give half of your blood essence to me and become my blood qi cauldron, I will take you as my disciple and teach you how to use the Taotai fish. By then, you will be able to break through to the god realm." "Bah! You call yourself an old man. I think I should call you an old man. Your blood cauldron method is so crude and trashy. Do you think I care about it?" Jiang Tian sneered and turned into a flash of light, rushing toward Qiao Bin. He had already cultivated the gung metal divine body, so he chose to fight with his iron body. Jiang Tian was fast and arrived in front of Qiao Bin in the blink of an eye. Qiao Bin guffawed and said, "Tai Chu, you are good. However, it will only speed up the speed of your death." He punched at Jiang Tian's chest like a cannonball. Chapter 351. With this punch, the wind howled, the temperature plummeted, and the world changed. The violent fist force and qi spread out in all directions, and a 10-meter-tall wave was set off. The gaily painted boat under Qiao Bin's feet was crushed like a piece of paper. The entire surface of the lake shook, and huge waves surged, pushing towards the shore. Many aquatic plants, colorful fish, prawns, and crabs all fell to the ground. The power of one punch is so terrifying. The people who had retreated to the safety line exclaimed. They couldn't believe it. This is the North Deep Frozen Fist. An overlord exclaimed and his eyes almost popped out. The power of this punch was like a nuclear explosion. It could even smash an armored vehicle into a discus. Clang! Clang! A deafening sound that sounded like a yellow bell rang out, spreading out for miles. The punch landed on Jiang Tian's chest. Xiao Bin's arm was numb and his body swayed. He slid back 10 meters and looked shocked. However, Jiang Tian was unharmed. He sneered and said, Xiao Bin, is this the power of a half-step immortal state warrior? Trash! Kang Te Chu, you are indeed powerful. But if you think this is all I have, then you are wrong. I will kill you until you are in despair. Xiao Bin's eyes were as cold and sharp as a blade. His domineering aura was boundless. He let out a cold shout and formed a seal with both hands. Then, he punched out again and shouted, This old man has been sitting in the extreme cold of the far north. I have walked through thousands of miles of glaciers in Siberia and absorbed the extremely cold aura. I have cultivated the northern dark frost fist. After the punch, the water surged and the next second, the cold air surged and the water within 100 meters froze. 10,000 miles freeze. Even the monstrous waves that were 10 meters high were instantly frozen into ice lumps. They quickly came to a standstill and were as sparkling and translucent as glass. Among them, there were many colorful fish, red lobsters, green turtles, and other aquatic creatures that were frozen alive, maintaining their posture for a moment. It was very beautiful, like the world's most exquisite artwork. What? Xiao Bin is so scary. He is indeed a half-step immortal state warrior. His words are the truth. Normal transcendent masters would not be able to withstand this punch. Hua Qingtian and the others who had retreated to the safety of the mountaintop exclaimed in shock. They were worried for Jiang Tian. Once an immortal state warrior reached the immortal state, he would be able to control the essence qi of heaven and earth and turn it into an attack. This chilling aura was actually able to cover an area of several hundred meters. It was truly terrifying. Kang Te Chu, watch out. Yi Zhantian's face paled and he quickly retreated a few hundred meters. The dark north glacial fist was too domineering. The temperature suddenly dropped to several dozen degrees below zero. Normal transcendent grandmasters would be frozen into ice blocks and lose the ability to move, allowing Xiao Bin to shatter them with a single slap. Jiang Tian was only about 10 meters away from Xiao Bin. When the cold air reached Jiang Tian's body, his body also became sluggish. His entire body was covered in white translucent ice and snow, as if he had turned into an ice man. He could not move at all. Ha, Kang Te Chu, you can't take it anymore. Xiao Bin laughed like a madman. He slowly stepped on the solid ice and walked towards Jiang Tian. He said proudly, this old man was lucky enough to be able to cultivate the frigid aura in the extreme north for more than 20 years. Not to mention you, even if it was Yi Zhantian or Yi Zhantian's father, Yi Tianren, I can still freeze them into ice. Oh no, Master Kang is frozen. What should we do? Many martial artists exclaimed, their hearts filled with despair and sadness. Before this, they still thought that Xiao Bin was just exchanging pointers without hurting anyone, which was not a loss of the demeanor of a grandmaster. But now they realized that Xiao Bin had set up an inescapable net to plot against all the martial artists in Huaxia. They could not help but hate Xiao Bin to the bone. At this time, no one wanted Jiang Tian to be defeated. Go and rescue him. Everyone in the Sky Alliance rushed to the center of the lake without saying a word. Just as they rushed to the lakeside, a sneer was heard. Old Xiao, do you think you can freeze me to death? Dream on. Before the voice died away, everyone was stunned and ecstatic to see Jiang Tian suddenly move. The huge ice blocks under his feet with a radius of 100 meters and a thickness of more than 10 meters were all shattered. His joints made a harsh sound of metal rubbing against each other. The force rose from his feet and quickly gathered in his fist. Golden light flashed on his fist. It was like a high-speed train containing endless power. With a bang, it hit Xiao Bin's chest. Whoosh! This time, Xiao Bin was directly beaten like a rag doll. He flew more than 100 meters away. His chest was broken and he spat out blood mixed with pieces of his internal organs. Kang Te-Chu is indeed Kang Te-Chu. He can even withstand such extreme cold energy. Yes, how did he do it? Countless people exclaimed and were shocked. Jiang Tian had the Gengjin divine body, which was extremely powerful. Not to mention the cold energy that was dozens of degrees below zero, he could even come and go freely in the 9 Serenities underground fire sea. He was not even afraid of a nuclear explosion. He deliberately did not move just now to attract Xiao Bin to come closer. Good, good. I'm afraid Xiao Bin will lose half of his life after this punch. Someone cheered. Kang Te-Chu, you're really strong. You're the first person who can hurt me in 20 years. Xiao Bin clutched his chest in pain. He was furious, gnashing his teeth and roaring furiously. The billowing murderous aura mixed with the surging blood chi rushed to the sky, covering the area 10 meters above his head with a red glow. It looked extremely demonic and domineering. Everyone was shocked to see this. Under the surging blood chi, his broken bones connected, his blood vessels grew, and his muscles expanded. All the wounds healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. In just a breath's time, he recovered as if he was never injured. What kind of sorcery is this? Yeah, I didn't see him take any pills or use any spells to heal his body. Oh my god. This is too scary. It's like an immortal body. Countless people were shocked. They felt as if they had fallen into an ice cellar. Kang Te-Chu, even if you kill me 10 times, I can still come back to life with the nourishment of the Fish Queen's blood and the Blood Clan's divine art of blood refinement. But you, Kang Te-Chu, have 10 lives for me to kill. Xiao Bin laughed loudly, and like a torpedo, he flew close to the water, pushing aside the surging waves, and rushed towards Jiang Tian with an indomitable will. The blood-gathering sorcery of the Caucasus ancient shamans, the Blood Clan's divine art of blood refinement, the northern underworld frost spell, Yi Zhantian's face darkened and his brows furrowed. These 3 Dharma spells were the most powerful cultivation arts and dark arts. Not only was Xiao Bin half a step away from immortal state, but he was also able to use the blood essence of many transcendent state cultivators to heal his damaged body. Even if Yi Zhantian were in Jiang Tian's position, he would not be able to withstand the attack. 1,000 arrows piercing the heart. Go to hell. Boom. He slapped out with his palm, and the cold ice aura condensed into numerous ice arrows, shooting toward Jiang Tian in a densely packed manner. These ice arrows were like green jade, sparkling and translucent. Under the sunlight, they shone with a dazzling luster and were extremely beautiful. However, each one of them was incomparably sharp and heavy. They could penetrate a few centimeters thick steel plate. Thousands of ice arrows flew across the sky, covering the sky and the sun. Numerous ice arrows pierced through the air, bringing with them a sharp whistling sound, like a long dragon of ice arrows. This terrifying power was 10 times or even 100 times stronger than Oyila's true chi. Even 10 transcendent grandmasters would not be able to withstand it. Chapter 352. Humph. How do you know how powerful I am? Jiang Tian didn't even try to dodge the attack. Instead, the energy of his gung metal divine body soared. 1. He stomped on the ground and created a 10-meter deep crater on the lake surface. He shot up into the air and blocked the thousands of ice arrows with his body. Bang! 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 Crack! Dense explosive sounds kept ringing out. Under Jiang Tian's rampage, the ice arrows were all shattered like paper. Streams of ice shards and auras shot out in all directions, like a fairy scattering flowers. How is this possible? Kang Te-Chu, What kind of body do you have? How could you withstand my 1,000 piercing ice arrows? Xiao Bin's face paled. His body trembled violently and he almost fell into the water. You don't deserve to know. Jiang Tian took advantage of the falling momentum and slammed his palm down. Kaboom! A giant golden palm, more than 10 meters long, suddenly appeared in the void, like a Buddha pouring down the Five-Finger Mountain, like Gonggong touching the Buzhou Mountain, with infinite power, slammed down with a loud bang. You can't kill me! Xiao Bin roared at the sky. His eyes looked like they were about to split open as he threw a punch towards the sky. As the fist soared into the sky, a large hole seemed to have been torn open in the torrential rain. The raindrops slanted and shot in all directions, and even rose up upside down. In an instant, they turned into ice crystals and snow, and all kinds of strange scenes appeared. Boom! The giant ice fist collided with the golden palm. Instantly, the ice fist shattered and exploded. It was as if dozens of cannonballs had been dropped simultaneously. The water within a radius of 100 meters was boiling. Countless fishes and prawns were smashed into meat paste. The entire surface of the lake shook violently. Waves rose and fell, and turbid waves rose into the sky, pushing in all directions. Even though the crowd was a few hundred meters away, they were still dizzy from the terrifying energy. Ordinary people even bled from their orifices and passed out. Is this the power of a half-step immortal state warrior? It's terrifying. It's too powerful. It's beyond the peak of the transcendent state. It's going to destroy the world. Many people screamed in fear. Xiao Bin threw out 3 punches in a row, but he still couldn't stop the power of the giant golden palm. He spat out blood and sank to the bottom of the water. Half a minute later, Xiao Bin appeared like a ghost 100 meters behind Jiang Tian. A long ice blade condensed in his hand, and in the next moment, he slashed at the back of Jiang Tian's neck without hesitation. Be careful. Yi Zhantian's pupils constricted abruptly. He did not even have the time to remind him. His eyes dimmed and fell into despair. Was Kang Taichu really going to be killed by old thief Qiao? Then he might not be able to withstand it. If that was the case, not only would Huaxia suffer heavy losses in this battle, old thief Qiao would also bring back the blood essence of many warriors. If he stepped into the immortal state, he would be a great threat to Huaxia's martial arts world. Seeing that the long ice blade was about to behead Jiang Tian, Xiao Bin was pleased with himself. The smile on his face grew wider and wider, and he almost couldn't hold back his laughter. He had achieved a great victory this time. Not only did he get his revenge, but he also collected the blood essence of dozens of powerful warriors. It was a fruitful trip, and he was just around the corner to reach the immortal state. Then he would be able to reach the immortal state. There was no one at the moment. Maybe Zeus of the Western Pantheon had reached the immortal state, but it was only a legend. Then he would be the most powerful warrior in the world. No one could stop him except for those old monsters who had been hibernating for a long time. But just as he was about to burst into laughter, he suddenly felt a chill on his back. He looked down and saw the tip of a sharp sword sticking out of his chest. Then he felt a sharp pain. How is this possible? Xiao Bin's smile froze on his face. He didn't see where the black sword came from. How did it pierce his heart from behind? Chi! Little black flying sword flew into Jiang Tian's hand with a mist of blood and pieces of internal organs. Jiang Tian turned around leisurely and looked at Xiao Bin with a smile. Is this a flying sword? It only appeared in legends. How can a warrior in Huaxia control a flying sword? Even a perfected cultivator can't do it. Xiao Bin's face was pale, and he spat out blood from his mouth. He clutched his chest in pain and stared at Jiang Tian. He exclaimed, also, how did you find out that I was sneak attacking you? I didn't make any sound, and I even restrained my aura. You know that my spiritual perception is strong, but you're still so careless. Then you deserve to die. Jiang Tian sneered and waved his hand. The flying sword pierced through Xiao Bin's chest with a mist of blood. blood escape of 1,000 miles. Xiao Bin used all his strength to perform the blood escape technique. He turned into a mist of blood and flew hundreds of meters back to the shore. Blood refinement divine formula. He stomped his feet on the ground, and his eyes were about to crack. He roared and performed the secret technique again, trying to repair his injured body. He glared at Jiang Tian with hatred and murderous intent. Kang Te-chu, this old man said that you can't kill this old man unless you behead me directly. What's the use of stabbing my heart? This old man can repair my body in seconds. This time, I will never let you go. This old man has suppressed in Russia for 20 years, and I have never failed. Do you think that I will give you another chance? Jiang Tian sneered. He opened his right hand and grabbed at Xiao Bin from afar. He shouted in a low voice. 1,000 gold sect leader. At this moment, Xiao Bin was horrified to see a bloody mist on his skin. It was terrifyingly red, and blood was flowing out of his pores. Soon, drops of blood gathered on the surface of his body and turned into streams of blood. Blood gushed out crazily, pulling out red threads and flowing into Jiang Tian's hand. Xiao Bin's skin was shriveling at a speed visible to the naked eye. What is this? A technique that deprives vitality. This is impossible. I am already at the peak of the half-step divine realm. My body is immortal. How can your technique do that? Xiao Bin exclaimed loudly and performed the secret technique. He concealed his spirit and qi to the extreme, trying to control the flowing blood and absorb and refine the essence and blood of the warriors absorbed by the Fish Queen, to strengthen himself. But everything was useless. A layer of blood was lingering on the surface of his body, like a jumping red flame. His blood was out of control. No matter how many secret techniques he used, it still kept flowing toward Jiang Tian. And between Jiang Tian's fingers and palms, the blood gathered into a red ball, shining with a strange metallic luster. It looked very condensed. Ah, it hurts. Xiao Bin's face gradually turned pale. His skin even cracked, his full muscles shriveled, and blood flowed out of his body. He couldn't help but scream in pain. Xiao Bin could cultivate in the cold extreme north for 20 years. His heart was very tough, but at this moment, he couldn't stand it anymore. This kind of torture was very torturous, as if he was in the furnace of purgatory. His flesh seemed to be peeled off piece by piece. It was a pain that humans couldn't bear. Let me go. What kind of evil technique is this? He struggled and screamed desperately, rolling and crying, as if he wanted to escape from Jiang Tian's control. His body left streaks of blood on the ground, the rocks, and the grass, but he still couldn't break free. What was more frightening was that the blood on the grass on the rocks flew up quickly and gathered between Jiang Tian's fingers and palms. Kang Te-chu won. What kind of technique is this? He forced Xiao Bin to beg for mercy. He turned the tables in an instant. It's like an instant kill. Old thief Xiao only fought with Kang Te-chu for 2 or 3 rounds. Kang Te-chu is too powerful. Countless martial artists exclaimed, shocked to the extreme. Xiao Bin was half a step away from the immortal state, and he was at his peak state. Even if Jiang Tian was half a step away from the immortal state, it would take hours or even days and nights to defeat him. Unexpectedly, Jiang Tian suppressed Xiao Bin in just a few minutes. It was like an instant kill. It showed that Jiang Tian's strength was like the difference between heaven and earth, far surpassing Jiang Tian. Is he in the immortal state? Many people were stunned. He is so powerful. He can deprive Xiao Bin of his qi and blood. Yi Zhantian's eyes were filled with fear, and his whole body was shivering. He was already amazed that Jiang Tian could suppress Xiao Bin. But now, Xiao Bin was completely under Jiang Tian's control. He even begged for mercy without caring about his dignity. It could be said that Jiang Tian was completely crushing him. My Gengjin divine body's divine power of 1,000 gold can control all metal elements at the atomic level. Everyone's blood contains iron elements. No one can stop me if I want to extract their blood. Jiang Tian sneered in his heart. He quickly used the divine power of 1,000 gold to rob and extract Xiao Bin's blood. Chapter 353. Qi and blood. Qi and blood were the two most important life substances in the human body. Su Wen theory of scripture tuning once said, the owner of a human is blood and qi. Qi was the manifestation and derivation of blood, and blood was the foundation and carrier of qi. A martial artist's cultivation of qi was built on a strong foundation of flesh and blood. Without flesh and blood, it would be like a skyscraper that had its foundation destroyed. Everything would be like a castle in the air, a bubble in a dream that would immediately collapse. Jiang Tian used 1,000 gold sword technique to completely suck away the blood and qi that Xiao Bin was so proud of. No matter how many secret techniques he had, it was useless against Jiang Tian's method of removing the firewood from under the cauldron. Kang Te Chu, what kind of evil technique is this? Let me go and have a fair fight with me. At first, Xiao Bin was still very unconvinced. He rolled and struggled on the ground while roaring angrily. Kang Te Chu, you are a demon. It's too painful. Beast. Evil technique to hurt me. I will take revenge and kill you 100 times over. He was still cursing and threatening. Kang Te Chu, I admit defeat. Let me go. I am willing to be your slave and dog and follow you for life. Gradually, Xiao Bin could not take it anymore. He threw away the dignity of a peerless martial artist and begged for mercy with a hoarse voice like a dog barking. It was full of pain and fear. TSK, you old dog. You are so skinny that you are just skin and bones. Too useless. Go and die. Jiang Tian sneered. The ball of blood between his fingers became bigger and bigger. It was already the size of a basketball. Kang Te Chu, give me a stab and let me die quickly. I beg of you. In the end, Xiao Bin could not take the pain of having his tendons pulled out and his skin peeled off. He could only ask for a quick death. Jiang Tian ignored him and allowed Xiao Bin to curse and beg for mercy. He turned a deaf ear to him and continued to use his divine ability. Less than 5 minutes had passed. The Taotai fish, queen, on Xiao Bin's back had fallen off. It was as shriveled as a dried fish and had completely lost its vitality. Without the infusion of fresh blood, Xiao Bin's body began to dry up at an even faster rate. His muscles shriveled up and his skin turned dull. There was no trace of blood in his body. He was all skin and bones, just like a mummy. He was on the verge of death as he fell to the ground. In the end, his eyes closed, and he passed away while carrying boundless terror and pain. At this time, if his body was carried to the laboratory table to be sliced and examined with a high-powered microscope, one would find that there was almost no trace of blood in his body. Every piece of his internal organs, every bone, and every inch of his muscles had become as dry as wood. Even after being squeezed by 5-star physics, not a single drop of blood was squeezed out. July 15, 2009, on Moling Lake. The veteran Grandmaster of the Republic of China, the founder of the Russian Winter Army, blood-refining sect, Xiao Bin, was dead. Everyone was shocked. Xiao Bin is dead. Hua Qingtian was in disbelief. Xiao Bin died just like that. Yi Zhantian looked at Jiang Tian in a different light. Before this battle, he thought that he could compete with Jiang Tian and even suppress Jiang Tian. After all, he had stepped into the real half-step divine state more than a year ago. But now he knew that Jiang Tian's cultivation had definitely stepped into the half-step divine state and was at its peak. He was definitely no match for Jiang Tian. For a time, the warriors from Huaxia and the strong ones from the dark world all looked at Jiang Tian in horror. Their eyes were full of reverence. They knew that from now on, a peerless strong man who could awe the whole world would rise and shine on the earth. Kang Te Chu, the world's youngest grandmaster of martial arts, and perhaps even the world's youngest half-step divine state. Divine state. Kang Te Chu is too strong. He cultivates both magic and martial arts. His fists can shatter the world and his magic can control the sky. Looking at Jiang Tian's slender back, Yi Zhantian felt as if he was looking at his former self, who was full of vigor and vitality. Every word he spoke was punctuated by a sudden feeling of a hero past his prime. He was also a talented man and had been taught by the most powerful man in Huaxia, Yi Tianren, but he only stepped into the half-step divine state at the age of 70. Now, Jiang Tian had stepped into the half-step divine state at the age of 26 and was better than him. Everyone was shocked. Xiaobin was backed by Russia, a superpower in the world. He had access to countless cultivation resources and had successfully reached the half-step divine realm. He had traveled all the way to the south and defeated grandmasters one after another. How powerful, how glorious, and how domineering was he! Today, he had set up the formation of beasts and used the blood and qi of dozens of strong men as resources to force himself into the divine state. It was a far-sighted and painstaking plan. But still, he was defeated by Jiang Tian's powerful Dharma spells and martial arts. After much torture, Huaxia finally lost his life. Jiang Tian swayed his body and came to the shore. He came to Xiaobin's body. All the overlords bowed their heads and saluted to show their respect to this invincible overlord. Even Chiba Masahiro, who was unhappy with Jiang Tian, lowered his arrogant head with a panicked expression. Only the golden-haired and blue-eyed Russian expert, Andrei, flew to Jiang Tian and cupped his fists. Master Kong, I want to take my master's body back and bury him in the tundra where he cultivated. Master Kong, please show mercy. This kind of trash, of course, should die without a burial ground. Jiang Tian didn't even look at him. He cast a fireball talisman and burned Xiaobin's body to ashes. You! Andrei was enraged, and he glared at Jiang Tian with a face full of hatred. He gritted his teeth so hard that they creaked. Not convinced? Go to hell. Jiang Tian waved his hand and slashed down with the Gengjin Qi weapon. Qi! Andrei did not even have the time to scream before Jiang Tian split him in half from head to crotch in the surging waves of blood. This is a corpse whipping. Master Kong is as powerful as a dragon. We can't offend him. Many experts looked at Xiaobin's body that had already turned into charcoal, and their hearts shuddered as they trembled. From now on, what faction in the world could challenge Kang Taechu? Even the Cherry Blossom Society and the Palace of the Gods would have to think twice before meeting Kang Taechu. 3 hours had passed since the battle. Banana Club. It was sunny after the rain. The banana leaves had been battered to pieces by the storm, but after being nourished by the rain, they stubbornly grew even more green, looking even more verdant and full of vitality. The broken branches of the pine and cypress fell into the puddle, emitting a slightly spicy and refreshing smell. The bright yellow setting sun shone through the paper window, leaving a gentle light on the tea table. Su Ruocheng, who was kneeling in front of the tea table, was making tea. Her jade-white hands were slightly trembling. The underground queen of Jinling City was so nervous that she couldn't even perform her smooth tea ceremony. This tea is Mengding Huangya. It was picked from the mother tea tree used by the imperial family during the Qing dynasty on Mengding Mountain in western Sichuan. The annual production is only 10 caddies. This old man begged the owner of the tea plantation and begged him to get 1 caddy. Come and have a taste. Ha, have a taste. Su Zhenlei, who was sitting on the side, was also nervous. He didn't know where to put his hands and feet, and introduced with a stiff smile. No wonder they were nervous, because the 3 people drinking tea were the 2 top martial arts giants in Huaxia. Kang Taechu and Yi Zhantian. Next to them was Madame Jiang, a peerless overlord who could be called a heroine. Yi Zhantian picked up the teacup, took a sip, and said with a chuckle, Jiang Tian, do you know the consequences of killing Xiaobin? What consequences? Jiang Tian asked with a calm smile. Yi Zhantian's face was solemn. He said with worry, Xiaobin is one of the 3 giants of the Russian Winter Soldier Organization. He is very prestigious and has many disciples and fans. He once promoted the integration of Caucasian shamanism, werewolves, and the military. He has many friends in the world of overlords in Russia. If he dies, it can be said that the Winter Soldier organization and the entire Russian army will be shaken. If I'm not mistaken, you have already been on the Winter Soldier organization's must-kill list. So what? Jiang Tian's face was calm. He sneered, at worst, we can wash Jinling with blood again. Chapter 354. Jiang Tian, your thinking is too simple. Yi Zhantian smiled bitterly. The Great Circle isn't that powerful. In the end, it's just a little bit of money. But there are many things in the world that money can't buy. For example, the technological strength that can stimulate awakened ability users. For example, many cutting-edge weapons at the forefront of technology. And Xiao Bin has Russia as his backing. He has a lot of intelligence, research, espionage, ability user organizations, and is loyal. These are definitely not comparable to the strong people from the dark world who came to Jinling last time. At this point, he looked deeply at Jiang Tian and said in a deep voice, Jiang Tian, I know that you used to be the chief martial arts consultant of War Dragon. It can be seen that you are still close to the military. So, do you have any plans to go further in the military? If you are, I will immediately report and let you enter the upper echelons of the military. You will definitely be a major general. You can even be the team leader of the Long Formation. He said earnestly, I'm afraid there isn't a single person in Huaxia's martial arts world who can compare to you. A young grandmaster like you is the top talent that the military urgently needs. In the future, I can guarantee you a promising future. You think too much, Mr. God of War. Jiang Tian shook his head and said with a faint smile, I became the martial arts consultant of War Dragon just to repay the favor of the Tang family. Besides, I don't care anymore. Tang Linglong has already received part of my inheritance. There is no problem for her to teach me. To be honest, I have no interest in military affairs. I am used to being a wild crane and can't stand being restrained. Yi Zhantian sighed regretfully. Then, his eyes flashed and he smiled. Well, let's not talk about this for now. I have one more question. If the country needs you in the future, are you willing to do your part for Huaxia? Jiang Tian sensed the deep meaning in his words. He lifted his eyelids and glanced at him, saying, if those forces hostile to Huaxia provoke me, I will not be polite. Just like how I killed Xiao Bin today, I will cut the weeds and eliminate the roots. It can be considered as cutting off the malignant tumor of Huaxia. Let me remind you that the Japanese Sakura Society was behind the Nya family that you eliminated back then. Yi Zhantian's face was grim. There are many ninjas, onmyojis, and kendo masters among them. Especially the ninja onmyojis, they are proficient in concealment, assassination, and the art of exorcism. They are very difficult to deal with. Moreover, they are a notorious special intelligence agency. They have no bottom line, are unscrupulous, and will do anything. If they can't kill you, they might make a move on your family. So, you have to be very careful in this regard. Are you saying that they might attack my family and friends? Jiang Tian's eyes emitted a heart-palpitating killing intent. It could be said that attacking his family was something that Jiang Tian absolutely could not accept and tolerate. He had returned after 10,000 years of cultivation to protect his family and friends. He would never let anything happen to them. However, Jiang Tian calmed down quickly. He had already prepared for this, and it was almost time. Forming the Heavenly Alliance and recruiting martial arts colleagues and allies was one of the methods. The forces of Jiangbei, the Shinong School, Qiu Gong, Li Zhenwei, Shen Mange, and the others earlier, the Huaqingtian family of Zhong Province, the Zhao Yuankuan family of Yi Province, the Wei Feilong family of Wei Feilong, and the Chinese Society of Singapore were all part of this list. In fact, if the military had not wanted to defeat Xiao Bin in a fair fight, these forces would have ganged up on him. Xiao Bin would have died under the joint attack of Huaqingtian and the others without having to do anything himself. Forging the best protective jade talisman and setting up the Great Dragon crouching formation was another method. Another method was to impart cultivation techniques to his family members. This method had already worked on Qing'er. As for his grandfather, parents, and sister Ziwei, it would take time. Once all of them had embarked on the path of cultivation, the Jiang family of Jinlin City would be as impregnable as a rock. Even if the entire Cherry Blossom Society was involved in the assassination, the Jiang family would still be able to put up a fight. Jiang Tian knew that the best defense was offense. Taking the initiative to eliminate the enemy was the most crucial method. Just like how he dealt with the Chinese Society of Singapore, Wang Chongyan had befriended many Nanyang witchcraft masters and had the capital to make a comeback. As for himself, he did not even give Wang Chongyan a chance to make a move. He took the initiative to kill Wang Chongyan and snatch the gold and wood spiritual cores. Thinking of this, Jiang Tian smiled faintly and said, "Oh, about that. Don't worry, I am preparing to go to South Korea and East Asia to eliminate the Cherry Blossom Society." What? Yi Zhantian was shocked and could not believe what he had just heard. Jiang Tian was indeed a prodigy. He had reached the half-step to immortal state before the age of 30. Some of his secret techniques could even suppress Yi Zhantian's. However, there was still a long way to go before he could challenge the Cherry Blossom Society. The Cherry Blossom Society had immortal state cultivators. Moreover, the military would not be able to handle the invasion of the Cherry Blossom Society. The East Asia Self-Defense Force was not a force to be reckoned with. A half-step to immortal state cultivator was not afraid of large-scale firearms. However, they could only withstand 1 or 2 cannonballs. How many nails could you crush if you were made of iron? These thoughts flashed across Yi Zhantian's mind like lightning. Yi Zhantian stood up and grabbed Jiang Tian's hand, and said in a deep voice, "Young friend Jiang Tian, you must not be reckless. You must be extremely cautious. Mr. God of War, I am just a commoner. It is legal for me to travel to South Korea and East Asia. You can't stop me." Jiang Tian patted his hand and said with a smile. He could feel Yi Zhantian's concern for him and he knew that Yi Zhantian meant well. However, Jiang Tian understood even more clearly that there were some things that couldn't be avoided and had to be done. Jiang Tian and Qing'er left hand in hand. Yi Zhantian stood there motionless for a long time. In the end, he heaved a sigh. He did not know if he should be relieved or worried. When the news reached Chao Shixiang. This battle will definitely sweep across the world and shock all the dark overlords who want to lay their hands on Huaxia. I can hold my head high. This is so satisfying. Kang Taichu is indeed worthy of the general's praise. He is the hero of the nation and the best general of the country. Chao Shixiang picked up a bottle of erguotu wine and took a swig. Will Kang Taichu be more powerful than my Sifu? Chao Jianjia's eyes sparkled. She was about to become Jiang Tian's loyal fan. Xiao Bin died at the hands of Kang Taichu. That night, the news spread throughout the martial arts world of Huaxia. It swept across the world like a hurricane. Many dark overlords were closely discussing and paying attention to the news. That was Xiao Bin. With Russia as his backing, he was not someone Wang Chongyang, the leader of the Chinese society, could compare to. There were only a handful of people in the world who could suppress him. In particular, he had swept across thousands of miles in Huaxia in the first half of the year, defeating grandmasters consecutively and achieving great fame. On the other hand, Jiang Taichu had been in seclusion for 3 months, which made people suspect that Jiang Taichu was afraid to fight and that his strength was not as good as Xiao Bin's. But now, Kang Taichu had turned the tables and ended up like this. For a moment, many dark overlords were shocked and could not believe it. That night, none of the dark overlords around the world slept. They were all fiercely discussing and flooding the dark web. They asked about the details of the battle and guessed Kang Taichu's cultivation. For a moment, the Winter Soldier Organization, Cherry Blossom Society, Blue Storm, Hall of Gods, Dark Parliament, and many other top organizations in the world held a meeting overnight to discuss countermeasures against this huge change. Russia, Severnaya Zemlya, Arctic Cape. The Winter Soldier Organization's base. The cold wind was like a knife, using the earth as a chopping board and all living things as fish. Thousands of miles of flying snow turned the sky into an oven, melting everything into silver. The climate here was bitterly cold, with the temperature below -30 degrees Celsius all year round. Half of the area was covered by glaciers. The stars shone brightly, as if diamonds were embedded in the deep blue velvet. A light green or white ribbon stretched across the sky from east to west. The aurora borealis was like a veil, changing endlessly. For a moment, it shattered into many ribbons of aurora, and rapidly jumped and changed into red, purple, and white. The flying snow covered thousands of miles of wilderness, and ice and snow covered thousands of miles of mountains and rivers. Birds flew out of thousands of mountains, and traces of people disappeared. But in a certain valley, it was brightly lit, and the sounds of fighting were earth-shattering. Hundreds of people were training hard with their upper bodies naked. Knife arts, staff arts, obstacle racing, martial arts, spear arts. These people were not afraid of the cold, and each of them was as powerful as a transcendent grandmaster. A green-painted Apache military helicopter suddenly flew over and slowly landed on the tarmac. An old man in a military green coat walked out of the helicopter, surrounded by many bodyguards. He was as tall as a pine tree. Commander-in-Chief. When all the experts saw this old man, they all saluted in unison. Their eyes were filled with reverence as they expressed their utmost respect for him. This old man was the commander-in-chief of the Northern Army, who could talk directly to the Russian emperor. The commander-in-chief walked along with a solemn and sad face. In the end, he walked quickly into a tall tent. The flickering firelight reflected the tall back of a werewolf sitting by the fire. You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.